Top of the morning to you, Monolith Filmcast heads out there. We gotta come up with a name for our listeners.
Apes.
Yeah, but that's like too NFT sounding. I don't want someone to get the wrong impression.
Damn it.
Yeah,
You're
I don't want
right.
someone to get the wrong impression.
Fuck, I don't like that.
Yeah, me either. I don't know what to call you guys yet. I'm gonna call you...
You should call them the Monolith.
They are the Monolith?
Your fan base is a monolith.
That's
and
not a bad idea.
And they are the Monolith
Something...
fan base.
I'm trying to think of some sort of like Kubrick reference
Rocks?
too. Moon Rocks isn't bad either.
It's not bad.
Droogs.
Droogs.
Dude.
We'll sleep on it. We'll sleep on it. But thank you. Welcome back to the Monolith Filmcast. Regardless, you are tuned. Oh my God, Jake! I'm so sorry. I just realized I don't have my green sweater on,
It's fine.
and it's a disappointment, folks.
It is.
Because today we are doing our St. Patrick's Day episode, and to help us bring in our St. Patrick's Day episode, I'm Isaac, by the way, and this is Jake. But we've got a guest on. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. And we've got, St. Patrick's Day holds a special place in my heart.
Faith in me, gorder.
Exactly.
That's what I want to say.
And
I forgot what it was for a second.
and so we wanted to bring someone special on, an authority figure, if you will, someone just that screams St. Patrick's Day.
His blood is green.
Exactly, right? You cut him, he bleeds. Like he's a
green.
man. Yeah, exactly. But it's green because he loves St. Patrick's Day so much. So,
He's got green in his veins.
in honor of St. Patrick's Day, we have on our 1/16th Irish friend named Patrick. Patrick, thank you so much for being here, sir.
A top of the evening to you, lads.
How Irish are you?
I'm not 100% sure exactly. So, my biological father, his last name was McLeod.
Oh, he's fucking Irish.
Not my name now, obviously.
Right.
But he is very Irish. I've never met him before, which seems very Irish.
I'm gonna assume that you can make that
Holy
joke.
shit.
Yeah, I think I'm entitled to that liberty.
Yeah. So you're at least a quarter.
At least. I would
Okay.
say at least.
Fair enough.
A little green around your family tree, no?
A wee bit.
A wee bit.
A wee bit, lad.
Today, on the St. Patrick's Day Monolith special, we are talking the luck of the Irish, the 2001 pre-9/11, by the way.
That's important.
Just
That's
barely.
important.
Just barely
6 months.
9/11.
Those fucking kids had no idea.
Nobody did. Nobody did.
Some people did. Some people definitely did in March 2001. Wow, what a way to bring the episode in. But we're talking about the luck of the Irish today, folks.
The Disney movie.
The Disney movie. A classic, if you will, that we'll see. We'll talk about how it's aged. Before we dive into the broader subject, listen, folks, there's going to be the Irish accents the episode. I'm sorry. We're not going to be able to do it.
Can't do nothing about it.
You can't do nothing about it. You're right? Not gonna happen. Not gonna be able to get through a whole episode without Jake doing. You think we're not gonna say Cillian Murphy?
Cillian Murphy.
There's no way. There's no way we're going through the whole.
Nice to meet you, Cillian Murphy.
To get some seriousness, I guess, out of the way at the beginning of the episode, a little bit of owning up to it, if you will, for ourselves, if I can say that. What'd you do? Forget Cillian Murphy?
No.
I want to talk about Irish car bombs.
Woo-hoo, let's talk about them.
Coming in hot.
Coming in hot.
Not the IRA ones.
Irish car bomb is a term that needs to be retired.
Okay.
It's a not derogatory, but it is bad. You're not supposed to say that.
Okay.
It's not like a slur.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to get censored by I don't know. It's fine.
We should probably
but
describe what the drink
an
is.
Irish car bomb is a drink. It's an American drink.
And it's a term that originates from Irish social unrest.
Exactly. It's very much to do with, the bombing campaigns between Ireland and Britain, and it just not fun stuff.
Pretty aggressive
But
name.
It is a delicious drink. And what it is, you get a big old fat stack of Guinness stout. Mm-hmm. Pour a shot of Jameson whiskey in there. That's the Irish whiskey, right?
Jameson is indeed Irish whiskey.
Throw some Jameson in there. Or if you're like us and you ran out of Irish whiskey, you throw some fucking Jack Daniel's Tennessee honey.
Oh, you weren't
in there.
supposed to tell him, Isaac.
Hey,
Oh, no.
hey, I can't lie to the people. I did
I did tell Callista earlier that Tennessee whiskey is like Irish whiskey a couple times
It's about as Irish as you, right? It's
exactly. It's like
1/16.
third generation
exactly.
Irish.
So,
That's not bad.
and then so you pour the shot in there. Then you take another shot glass. You fill that shit up with Bailey's Irish Cream. You got the real triple threat here. You do what's called it's a term in other drinks as well, but you drop the shot glass into the bottle whatever your cup, and it's bottoms up, baby, and you chug that thing down. You slug it down.
It's a great drink.
Delicious.
It's an amazing drink.
Oh, it's so good. Gets the job done quick,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, you don't need a drink for a while after that.
But yeah, you're not supposed to say that anymore. And I have found alternatives. Like some bars will refuse to serve you if you call it that.
Really?
You can just call it a
people-
car bomb.
a car bomb, or you can call it an Irish bomb. My favorite name that I've heard so far though is the Dublin Drop.
I
that's a
like
good one.
that.
Double
So-
D.
Nice alliteration on
Exactly. So
Dublin.
going forward, I'm calling it the Dublin Drop.
Let's do it.
And we're taking some accountability here, folks. We were saying Irish car bomb left, right, and center. I wasn't saying that. I wasn't going to an Irish bar and being like, let me get an Irish car bomb. Obviously, I wasn't doing that, but I want to respect. So shout out to the Irish people and their heritage and their history and everything. And we'll definitely come back into it in a little bit, but I just wanted to get some serious business out of the way before we keep doing all these accents.
Yeah.
So yeah, go ahead. Keep making funny jokes.
Yeah.
So welcome to the Irish Monolith podcast. You ready to talk about some news?
Let's
Is that
do
first?
it. News?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Where the hell you been the last 71 episodes?
I can't remember if it's the watch list thing first.
Nope.
All right, fuck. We'll talk about some news first then.
I'm just saying we've never done the watch list
Let's
first.
dive-
We can change it up. Let's change it up right now. You want to do
All
it?
right. Sure. You want to talk about some movies first?
Sure. Let's do it.
All right. Who wants to? Okay. Another bit of updates for the audience at home, I guess. I got some suggestions for this name for the segment. Still haven't really settled on one, but for now we're gonna call it the Monolith Must Watch Film of the Week.
Mono must watch.
Mono Must Watch. Something like that. Keep workshopping that.
Mono mustache.
That's not bad. Monocle.
There
There you go.
You look through it.
So who's gonna go first? I should have given you the prep work for this. I didn't even tell you what you're supposed to say for this section.
No, I guess I have a movie in mind.
Perfect.
And I've told you about this movie before. A movie that's stuck with me for a while now. The Alpinist.
Ooh.
Is an excellent documentary film about a Canadian climber named Marc-Andre Leclerc. Just a beautifully shot movie. Like so many good shots in it, so many good nature shots, but also like philosophically, there's a lot to this movie.
Yeah.
It might seem like a simple thing, like climbing mountains, but this guy Marc-Andre Leclerc, he really had like a philosophy behind why he enjoyed climbing mountains so much.
Right.
And it's a pretty cool philosophy.
Simple man like myself would just approach a mountain and say, grab the ledges. That's it. I would just say.
Yeah.
Oh.
I imagine it's a lot more advanced than that.
Well,
He's free soloing, so
yeah, free soloing is where you climb with no safety rope. You know, you're just climbing the mountain. It's just
right.
you and maybe an ice pick or something. But
You and God.
yeah,
That's it.
essentially.
Essentially.
And his whole belief was like the filmmakers had a hard time making the film because he was so hard to nail down. He avoided the cameras because he didn't think of it as a truly free solo climb if there's cameras there watching him.
Damn.
So it was hard to even make the film. They had to like follow him around and track him down places where he's just in this backcountry climbing territory.
Just record him without his
Yeah.
consent.
Well, and they got his consent
far away
eventually.
sometimes too. Yeah.
Damn.
And they would use like drones, and sometimes there was this one time where he was in South America climbing, and there's another famous climber named Alex Honnold, famous climber. There's another
Yeah.
documentary about Alex Honnold.
It's called free solo.
It's called Free Solo, and he's in the Alpinist, and he talks about how he's with a group in South America doing this climb as a group, as a team, and they look off in the distance and they see a dot climbing up the mountain all by itself, and they're like, holy shit, that's Marc-Andre over there. That is messed up. He's free soloing that over there all by himself.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so it's an incredible film. Like, he was just a singular individual.
That's cool.
Hard to find people like that anymore. Just such an adventurer. So I highly recommend that movie.
The Alpinist?
The Alpinist.
I'll have to check that out.
I did. I did finally finish it. I had like watched it every night and like watched it in like chunks and everything, and then I did finally finish it. And yeah, I won't talk much about the ending or anything like that. But yeah, I agree. I can second that one. It was very good. So good recommendation. Thank you.
Glad you enjoyed it.
You want to go next? You want me to go next?
I'll go next.
Okay,
Full disclosure, I didn't watch anything this week.
that's fine.
Played a lot of Elden Ring. Every free minute I got. But I still got a
Let's do a
great...
quick Elden Ring update. How many hours are you at?
70?
I'm at 90, and you're almost 3 times as leveled as me.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, dude. I don't know if you knew this, but if you kill the bosses, you actually get a bunch of runes.
See, my favorite thing to do is lose all my fucking runes to a gargoyle in a cave.
Oh, they'll do that. They will do that for sure.
Oh, I did kill the bastard at the round table hold finally.
Oh, the invader?
Yes.
Oh, the guy at the bottom?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's real hard.
Got his ass.
Alberic, the Mad Tongue, I think his name
Something
is.
like that, yeah.
I love his like outfit. He has a really cool outfit on.
He looks like the dark magician in Yu-Gi-Oh.
He does look like that. Yeah, it's an amazing game.
So what do you recommend?
Oh yeah, so I got a recommendation. I think it still applies to this this Irish theme. Little movie called In Bruges.
Fantastic movie.
Great movie. It's about Colin Farrell, who's a
Hitman.
Huh?
Hitman.
He's a hitman, and he's kind of a little shit. He's a bit of a fucking brat, but he's just adorable. he's just just
so
adorable
charming.
in the
He's
movie.
so charming in Bruges.
And just like even despite all of his just really just it's like just this ignorant, arrogant behavior, but he just has these moments in the movie that just humanize him so well. Like just this very realistic, boyish, charming sort of guy who yeah, it's a really good movie. A bunch of a lot of actors who you've seen in other movies but probably haven't seen since then are in the movie. Brendan Gleeson is a one of the bigger ones in it. There's another guy in it. Yeah, Ralph Fiennes is in it. He comes in a bit later and he's
The
great.
Gleeson clan.
Yeah,
That's true. But yeah, the writing in the movie is exceptional. The humor is pretty offensive.
Yeah, if the only Martin McDonagh film that you've seen is 3 Billboards, give this one a shot. I like it a lot.
The
more.
director of 3 Billboards made in Bruges.
I'm like almost 100% sure.
That is crazy. I did not know that.
Yeah.
It's a really great movie. But yeah, full disclosure, there's some pretty offensive humor in it.
Oh, the whole thing is like a black comedy.
Yeah, it's
like
a black
it's
comedy.
a dark comedy. There's a lot of offensive jokes that they. Some of them are a little.
Some of them are a little too
across
much.
the board.
Yeah.
Some of them are like maybe tastefully offensive is not the way I would put it, but some of them have some commentary.
Yeah.
While being offensive, like specifically one of the jokes that Ralph Fiennes makes when they ask him if he wants an Uzi.
Oh yeah.
That was pretty fucking horrible. But yeah. I agree.
the genuinely the comedy writing in that movie is very good. Like there's some very sincere, dramatic moments in that movie that really stick with me. And there's also just some like just such realistically like humble moments that are just so like private and human that are just really funny.
Yeah.
Like there's a part that I'll briefly describe that because I watched clips of it this week because I was thinking about bringing this up. There's a part where Brendan Gleeson is on the phone with Ralph Fiennes and Ralph Fiennes is like, is Colin Farrell around? And then Brendan Gleeson thinks that he doesn't want him there to not, or like, because he doesn't want him to listen or whatever.
Right.
And so he's like, oh, he's just in the bathroom. And then he's not actually there. And so the whole time he's trying to convince Ralph Fiennes that he's not in there. So Ralph Fiennes is like, well, tell him to like leave. And so he's just talking to himself. He's like, hey, Ray, you should go down to the pub or something. And he's just like talking to him for like 5 minutes. And then Ralph Fiennes is like, okay, he's gone. And then Ralph Fiennes is like, are you sure you left? And he's like, yeah, I'm sure. He's like, go check outside. So he like goes outside and he knows nobody's there. Like just funny moments like that. It's a really good movie. I strongly recommend it.
There's a hilarious running bit through that whole movie where these Canadian people keep being like,
Oh, yeah.
I'm not American, I swear to God. It's pretty fucking... Or no. He beats up someone thinking he's American and they find out he's Canadian. And they're like, fuck.
You heat the Canadian.
Yeah, that part's pretty fucking funny.
Yeah, it's
Pretty funny movie.
yeah, a lot of really good Irish actors in it. So check it out.
All right, my Monolith must-watch of the week is also a little Irish ditty I like to call... Well, I don't like to call it. This is what the movie's called. It's called
Where the Wild Things Are.
Where the Wild Things Are. Now, the name always trips me up. I keep saying it wrong every time I watched the movie for the first time last night, and I still cannot get the name right. The Wind That Shakes the Barley. All right. The Wind That Shakes the Barley. Listen, folks. I watched 2 9 out of 10s this week. The other one is Synecdoche, New York. I don't want to spend too much time talking about it. I feel like it's way more famous. It's not that people shouldn't seek it out. It's a great movie. Check it out.
You mean Schenectady?
Schenectady. However the fuck you say it. Yeah.
Made up
Great
ass word
movie.
anyway.
It means the sum representing the whole or something like that is what that word means.
Poetic.
That's a great movie. Again, what's his face? What's his book? I talked about him last week. He wrote Being John Malkovich.
Charlie Kaufman.
Charlie Kaufman, thank you. His directorial debut. It's incredible. Philip Seymour Hoffman's in it. It's incredible.
Oh.
9 out of 10. Check that out. But that's not the one I want to talk about this week. The one I want to talk about this week is The Wind That Shakes the Barley from director Ken Loach. Ken Loach, the 2-time Palme d'Or winning director. He directed I, Daniel Blark, which won the Palme d'Or in, I think, 2016. And then The Wind That Shakes the Barley won in 2006. It stars Cillian Murphy as its lead.
Ooh.
Takes place in 1920s Ireland. Okay, Cillian Murphy is a young buck who's about to ship off to Britain to go. He's a doctor basically. He's gonna go study abroad, and the day that he's supposed to leave, these fucking British black and tan bastards, right? Black and tan is their outfit color.
Right.
They come in, they're fucking with the town, and they end up killing this kid. So Cillian Murphy's brother basically convinces him to not leave and instead stay and join the IRA.
Oh, shit.
And then the film is just about that for like the next 10 years. And I loved it. Personally, I really loved it. I have some minor like historical context as far as like the time and the IRA and stuff like that going on. A lot of the critiques I've read online about it are people just being like, maybe if you know what these people are talking about, this is interesting. And I was like, well, it definitely is if you know what they're talking about. But, God, just Ken Loach is an unapologetically anti-capitalist director. I fucking love him. His movies are so... Every single time I watch a new Ken Loach movie, I'm just like, God damn, I love this guy. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, The Wind That Shakes the Barley, if you like Cillian Murphy, it's also beautiful. All this horrible shit happening in early 1900s, like Ireland, but just everything set against, like, just the lush green landscapes of like the Irish countryside. Oh, dude, beautiful.
The Emerald Isle.
Exactly. And it's just it's a brutal movie for sure. Like there were just definitely parts that I was like, this is tough to watch. But yeah. It's a great movie. Not an easy watch by any means. And I've got my rental expires in like 24 hours if you want to check it out.
I probably will. There was a part in your Letterboxd review that I really liked. I was going to pull it up on my phone. I forgot I was going to do that. But there's just a part in your Letterboxd review I really liked. You said something about how like... I'm
trying to think. I said... Here, which part? Great movie, though.
At times, a cautionary tale while also being a rallying call and a historical drama.
Yeah, 100%.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, it is. There's definitely, like... I mean, without spoiling too much of the movie, there's a point in the movie where it kind of, you know, it's the classic tale of, like, leftist infighting and stuff like that, but it's a little more than, like, you know, modern-day leftist Twitter discourse. It's, like, real fucking inroads of why people go certain directions, and then just kind of, like, cautionary tales about, like, you know, when are you going too far and when's not going far enough, and like just like it's not very subtle in terms of like Ken Loach is very obviously sympathetic to like the socialist worker cause. He's not entirely sympathetic to kind of some of the IRA ideals. Mm-hmm. He's absolutely not sympathetic to the British at all. They are pure fucking evil in this movie, which I'm okay with too. But yeah, great movie. I loved it. Highly recommend The Wind That Shakes the Barley.
That sounds really good.
It's really good. Add it to the watch list, folks. Download Letterboxd. Like we've been saying, add it to the damn watch list. Also, I forgot to mention at the beginning of the episode, we should have started with this. We got a top 5 to recap, folks.
Oh, yeah, we do.
Oh boy, I voted on this one. I cast my vote.
He is a guest. His vote should count for like 3.
No.
That's only because I voted for you.
Wow.
I did tally the votes, but I will double check my tally just to make sure I'm being fair here. Okay.
Yeah, I also double checked it. But...
Let me double check the tally. So that's it for the Monolith must watch of the week. Let's rewind it back to last week. We did our first top 5, which was top 5 Batman villains, folks. Here we go. I'm going to read you some of these comments.
No,
Patrick, you kind sir, if you wouldn't mind keeping track of this for me. Our first vote comes from Dev. 4-1 Isaac. Battle wasn't even close. Shout out to you, Dev. You know what you're talking about. That's coming from one of the Cruise Control's founders themselves. He knows what he's talking about. One of the two. Yeah. 100%.
It's funny you say that. That might come up again later.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, let's just rest on the fact that Dev,
right,
50% of the brain power, the inspiration for the subject.
Half of it. half empty, if you ask me.
So Isaac won.
Isaac won.
Jake, nothing.
And keep that phrase in the back of your mind for not too much longer.
Subliminal messaging.
Stacy commented that she was very excited but didn't vote, which is okay. She was just excited to comment.
Well, I actually
Shout out to Stacy.
reread that message. I think there's some subliminal messaging in there because you can actually take away a J and an A and a K and an E. And so I kind of think that...
Nope, there's not a J in that, so nice try.
Oh, okay.
Next vote is from Dave Cruz. His didn't really make too much sense.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding. Well, he said... He did have good reason. He said...
Oh, did he?
He said...
Well, I'm so glad you think so.
Actually, he doesn't. I'm going to take issue with this. He said...
All right, let's hear it.
I'm going with Jake because the top 5 is stronger overall, even if I have minor qualms about the order. Never put anyone named Pig in a top 5 anything. Which is... Okay, sure. But
Wise words.
Sure, fair enough.
Before you get into this, I just want to mention one of the founding members of the Cruise Control podcast.
That's right. He is. That's right.
He's a whole half of that podcast.
He's the
platform.
older brother.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
Dev
You
and
could
Dave,
argue
right?
he's wiser, stronger, more intellectual. So I just want to put that out there. But anyways, yeah, what were we gonna say?
Then we got Mayumi. Mayumi said, "I'm going with
One
Isaac."
of your closest friends, just for the record.
a frequent guest on the podcast.
Right.
I'm going with Isaac. In fact, she was on last episode. She had a brief cameo where she FaceTimed me to ask about the...
Yeah, I wonder how that vote would have turned out if you didn't help her.
Man, you really smacked the shit out of that.
I know, sorry.
That's probably because I got it turned toward you, huh? My bad.
I did it earlier, too.
I'm going with Isaac because I only know 2 of the Batman villains, and they're both in his list. Fair enough. I'll take it.
Miami. Fair enough.
Dead Man's Bones, Ethan. Mr. Ethan. We know Ethan. He said Jake wins easy. Come on, no explanation. I'm going to need a little bit more explanation on
The
that
explanation
one,
is it's an easy pick.
Easy pick. But then we got Fran, another former guest. Isaac, easy. Josue, sorry, Jake. Team Isaac.
It's not okay, but...
Now, see, that was a little trickster. He was like, Jake, actually Isaac.
Got me.
Then
Just kidding, it's okay, Josue.
Then this beautiful woman also commented, I vote Isaac, and no, I'm not biased. It was none other than Callisto.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was a pretty hilarious comment, though. That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Then Devin replied privately to the Instagram and just said Jake, which I was like, all right, and I counted that. But then re-replied to the post and said, Jake, all caps, never trust a man who puts Joker at number 1. Now, I got to take a little bit of issue with this. Joker's not my number... He did
Joker's
a Joker
not
laugh.
your number 1?
He's not... Okay, I didn't get to finish my sentence. He's not my number 1 because I love the Joker. He's the best villain.
Then why is he number 1 on your Batman villains
He's
list?
the best villain. Jake did a Joker laugh, folks.
Yeah, 'cause it's
that's
funny.
got to count for something. Then we switch over to
Thanks,
Facebook.
Dev.
We got 2 more votes on Facebook. I think that's the only place we got votes that I'm aware
We
of.
got 2? I thought we got 1.
No, Patrick voted for Sir Jake. I don't have the Facebook pulled up, but that's 1 vote for your camp. And then John Rowe, I just didn't mean to say his full name.
Your boy?
John R., my boy,
Shout out to John.
said that we should both lose. And I was like, why? And
It's a great list. Both great lists.
He said, Bane number 3, Poison Ivy number 2, you both deserve to lose. And
I'd love to see John's list.
Why? And he said, because Bane is the best. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm the only one that put Bane on my list. And he was like, all right, then by default, you get my vote. Great. What's that final tally for us?
All right, let's count it up. For Isaac, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 votes. For Jake, we got 1, 2, 3, 4 votes. Isaac takes it.
Well,
I
all right,
voted for
folks.
you, Jake. I tried.
I know.
I really respected Poison Ivy in the number 2 spot.
Thank you.
That's
Thank
a good
you.
pick.
I'm glad somebody did.
Yeah, that it was a valiant effort. It was a valiant effort.
Yeah.
I got to give you that.
No, I think this has been a really eye-opening experience. Like,
Yeah, for
elections
sure.
really can be rigged.
For sure.
Like, that's crazy.
For sure. I was laughing
news.
so hard
Fake news.
when you posted on your Instagram story.
Drowning folks.
And you put vote for change. Oh my god, I was laughing my ass off.
I
That was hilarious.
got another joke in the future, but I can't use it yet because the joke is too like,
too
this
good.
is the first time, you know.
Yeah, you gotta say
But congratulations are in order. Fair game.
Thank you.
I guess we just gotta throw logic out the window with these top 5s, and that's what I learned. So,
She got another fan base.
I guess so. I don't know.
We'll get back. You'll get a chance for redemption at the end of the episode.
That's right.
So, without further ado, let's dive into some news. Let me check how we're doing on time. Okay, let's see. We do have some news this week.
Extra, extra, get it while it's hot.
Read all about it.
That's right.
First up, from the Hollywood Reporter, indie movie theater chains struggle to survive as windows shorten. Very big deal. It's not really like a new thing necessarily, but it's just kind of a continuous development. This whole new kind of day and date, and then now that day and date's kind of fading away with COVID restrictions kind of lightening up and people going back to the movies and everything. One thing that you'll notice is movie theater exclusive show, like windows of playtime, are getting smaller and smaller. Batman will probably be on HBO within the next month.
Yeah, I think they even said, like, since release, it's going to be on HBO Max in like 28 days from the release.
That is absurd. That's
super
insane.
fast.
It's because of HBO on DC's deal, though.
Right. Well, exactly. But even regular movies are doing this as well. Drive My Car, not a big indie movie, is on HBO Max right now.
Oh, shit. I got to watch that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it is. It's not good. The reason, if you don't really understand why that's not good, is because movie theaters don't have a chance to make any money.
Yeah, the ecosystem is kind of just really shoving them down to the bottom of the food chain.
Especially if you're the kind of person who is willing to wait a month to watch a movie, which I'm not. I'm gonna go see the movie.
But a lot of people are.
A lot of people are, and I'm not gonna fault those people. I'm not gonna like shame them. You know.
Yeah, no, it's
a symptom of the system,
yeah.
but you know, so that sucks. We'll follow up on that.
Yeah.
Christopher Nolan has found his latest Oppenheimer star. Now, before I reveal who it is, this movie's already getting some flack.
Is it?
Yeah.
What about?
There's just like no people of color in this movie, which might be historically accurate. I'm not 100% sure. You know, Oppenheimer and everything, which is starring Cillian Murphy, the boy, as Oppenheimer. But Josh Peck of Drake and Josh will play scientist Kenneth Bainbridge, who was involved in the Manhattan Project.
Interesting. I wonder how
Pretty
that'll
sweet.
go.
I mean, that's cool. That's pretty cool.
It's
for
interesting.
him.
Honestly, I feel like Christopher Nolan's gonna. I mean, he's only done it with like the past. Actually, no, he did it with Dunkirk also.
Harry Styles.
Yeah, like Harry Styles and like just these sort of newer actors, or just like more kind of like not niche, I guess, but just one you wouldn't expect in a Christopher Nolan like big budget blockbuster movie.
I haven't seen Josh Peck since Drill Bit Taylor. That's the last movie I watched with him in it.
Yeah.
All right, up next, the first trailer for the Obi-Wan Kenobi Disney Plus short series has come out. Did you folks watch it?
I did, yeah.
I did. I'm excited for this one.
It's interesting
Yeah.
too, because I brought this up before. I wonder if you have any. I want to hear what you think about this, Patrick. But I feel like the prequels in Star Wars are like the most hated in all the movies. But I think the characters from those movies are the most beloved.
Absolutely. I'm a prequel memer
Yeah.
myself. I fucking love the prequels.
Yeah.
Like, unashamedly. I think there's obviously some trash in the prequels.
Yeah.
If it could have been edited better. Have you seen Shia LaBeouf's supercut of the prequels?
No, I haven't seen
No.
that.
He actually made a cut of the prequels that's pretty good. He basically took all the prequels and boiled them down into one coherent movie instead of 3 movies.
That's very weird.
So it kind of
I
sums
never
up.
heard about anything like that.
You should find it if you can. It's hard to find now.
Yeah.
Because it used to be on YouTube, and then Disney bought Star Wars and
Yeah.
copyright shit. But that's essentially what it is. It takes all the prequels and boils them down to an under 2-hour film and cuts out some of the, like, there's 0 Jar Jar Binks
Really?
in it at all.
That's interesting.
And it's just got all the good stuff from the prequels.
That's interesting.
So,
I never heard about that.
You
At
should
all.
find it if you can. It's a great cut because it takes out all of that useless stuff in the prequels that...
Take out the retro 1950s cafe, space cafe, that whole weird scene from Attack of the Clones.
Like, it's so, like, for me personally, like, I find them like very forgettable personally. Like, I even like watched them a couple years ago when like the sequels were still coming out, just because I was in a big Star Wars mood, and I just like could not retain any of what I was watching. But regardless, like when I heard Ewan McGregor was coming back, I was like, Ewan McGregor's coming back?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
Hayden
It's like,
Christensen?
holy shit.
And even with the newest Star Wars sequel, Rise of Skywalker, we saw like cast listing like, oh my god, Hayden Christensen is credited in this. That's so cool. Like, it's just interesting. Like, I think that's such a cool, like, weird phenomenon in the fan base.
Yeah, I think that's a vestige of what was good about the prequels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The casting was amazing. They
true.
just could not have cast it better. Like, say what you will about Hayden Christensen, but he got a bad script.
Yeah.
And he acted the shit out of it. Like, he acted very well like a whiny, angsty teenager, and then when he turned into like the brooding, savage Darth Vader adult, he sold it.
And when he's crawling on the fucking, and he's like,
I hate you. And he's
Yeah.
so
It's so
intense.
good.
Oh man, he's so good at, like, you can feel that. And then when Ewan McGregor looks back at him and he's like,
You're my brother, Anakin.
yeah, there's like the anguish. You
Yeah.
know? Great acting.
great actor.
Yeah.
Love the.
So I'm excited for the
Me
Obi-Wan.
I want to be excited. That's my biggest feeling about it. Like watching the trailer, I got the ick from the cinematography, you know? It's just the very kind of washed out
Has that very
Tatooine
studio.
look. Yeah, and I want to be excited, but I've just been burnt too many times, baby.
It's that old Star Wars fan dilemma, baby.
Yeah, I really want to love it, and they play the Duel of Fates song in the trailer.
Yeah, a
and
lot
I
of
was like,
nostalgia pumping in, and it fucking works on me.
I'm one of those Star Wars people who's like always ready for Star Wars to hurt me again. I'm like,
Did you
hurt
watch
me
Book of
again,
Boba
Daddy.
Fett?
I did, and
See, I never even watched that.
I've enjoyed it.
Right.
It took kind of a left turn mid-season. The most recent season that was, I had to kind of try
Right.
to enjoy it after that, but
Yeah.
it was like once I got over it,
Yeah.
it worked for me.
Did you? Oh, here's a question. Did you ever? You don't play video games very much, huh?
I'm a very, very casual video gamer.
Have you played Jedi Fallen Order? That's what it's
No.
called, right?
Yeah.
Nope.
Oh, dude, easily, like
Some of the best.
second best Star Wars content in the last 10 years.
It's
Easily.
very, very good.
I've seen the trailer. I think that's a very cinematic trailer,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, I think I've seen the trailer for it.
It is. I highly recommend that game.
It's really good. It's the best Star Wars game out there. It's also just I feel like for me and personally, like I love Star Wars because I think it's such an interesting world to just like jump into. Like there's so much weird, cool shit that you could just tie to like these weird fantasy elements. Jedis are just knights, and that's just cool.
Yeah.
Like I love that in like a sci-fi atmosphere and stuff like that. I just
I
feel like
also really love this new exploration of like the Jedi's not being good.
yeah,
I love that.
yeah, like stoicism being negative.
Not that
Like, that's
not
cool.
that necessarily the Empire's obviously still bad, but
Yeah.
it's kind of like, two things can be true at once. I
Yeah,
love that.
exactly. But I feel like it just so little of the media really properly explores a lot of that in interesting ways.
Yeah.
Like honestly, I feel like The Mandalorian does a pretty good job of it sometimes, but like, dude, last like at least 5 years, I'd say Jedi Fallen Order does it the best.
Yeah, and Ryan Johnson tried,
He did.
and you hated him for it.
It's your fault.
Some of you, not all of you.
Enough of you.
Okay, up next. Remember that movie Pleasure that came out at Sundance?
That sounds familiar.
It was like about the porn industry, and then there was drama because A24 had purchased it,
Oh yeah, I do remember this.
and then remember Neon purchased it,
yeah,
and then Neon dropped it, and now it's back on. It's gonna be out in about a month, and the first trailers come out. I didn't watch the trailer yet,
Okay.
but I'm nervous about whatever this. This
I know.
apparently going to be very controversial. To me, the nature of what's happening around this movie, I think I'm going to end up being in the camp that's like, fuck this movie.
Yeah.
Because I just can't imagine A24 and Neon pearl clutching at
Yeah.
something that's a good thing.
Wait, you said Neon did drop it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they just
Oh.
picked something else. Let me look up. I'll just look up the word
Because
pleasure on Twitter.
wasn't the director of that movie like? Didn't they say some shit about A24? Like they were like, I'm finally with the studio that like won't like compromise my vision or whatever. Like
What happened was Neon tweeted that oh, yep, there's just porn when I look up pleasure. So, my bad there. Wow.
You were playing with fire from the
I
start.
was like, is this it? And then I went down and it was a full-blown penetration. So, yeah, sorry about that.
pleasure director.
I think the movie's called Pleasure. Anyways, I'm not 100% sure what the thing is. The article that I had actually sent to the Twitter was deleted, so I can't like reference back to it to get specifics, but
Right.
we will know more here in the next few weeks.
Right.
So I'll report back on that one. We've got another trailer that just came out. I also forgot to watch this trailer, but I'm stoked regardless. The trailer for season 3 of Atlanta dropped.
Oh,
God, it's been a while, folks.
I gotta watch that show.
Oh, you've never seen any of it? Have you ever seen any of that?
I'm in the same camp as Jake on this one.
I've seen clips from it, and I'm like, that's good. I should watch that. And I just
That
never
show is so good. Season 1's kind of like a coherent story,
Yeah.
and then season 2 is just way more like I don't even know, like an artistic, just kind of like things are happening, but nothing's that connected necessarily. So whatever they do with season 3, I'm there. I don't care. I love Atlanta. It's such a good show. So shout out to all the Atlanta heads out there. And then the last bit of news that we have in here, you guys have probably heard about this. The issue has been somewhat resolved by the people who are involved in this, but I figured we should still talk about it. Ryan Coogler, the director of Black Panther. Did you hear about this?
I don't think so.
Ryan Coogler, the director of Black Panther, was recently arrested falsely after being accused of robbing a bank whilst he was at the bank. He walks into the bank. He's got his mask on because it's COVID. He's wearing a mask. And he fills out a bank slip and slides it to the teller with his ID. And she's asking him questions. And he's like, just like, please read the slip.
Yeah.
And then she's like, okay. And she takes the paper and the ID to the back, immediately calls the police.
Jesus
Is
Christ.
on the phone call is saying, yeah, I haven't, like, I verified his ID or anything, but he's just being really weird. And then the police show up, pull out their guns, and put him in cuffs. And then they take him outside, and he's like, what the fuck? Like, he's like as soon as it's actually really scary. Like, I mean, Ryan Coogler also directed...
Fruitville Station.
He did direct that one, right? Yeah, and so I'm like, you know... I mean, and he's a black man in America, so it's like, obviously, but still, you can feel it, like, he's like, whoa, what's going on? And then they're like, put your hands behind your back, and he immediately is like, okay, like, I got my hands on, like, he's immediately, you know, what's the word? Following their orders, I guess.
Compliant.
Yeah, he's immediately compliant, and then as they're walking out, one of the employees is like, good job, officer.
I saw that,
And
dude.
it's like,
Holy shit.
Oh, it's so bad.
They let him go, like, right outside, though.
Yeah,
right?
they
Once
get outside
realized...
and they figure out the situation, and then it's like, and then as more details start to come out, it's just like insane. Like, genuinely, that bank teller needs to get fired.
Yeah.
Because when you first hear the details, you're like, well, it is weird. Like, why was he sliding her a note? I worked at a bank as a bank teller, right? And that was always scary. If someone's sliding you a note, most bank robberies are not guns out. 90% of modern day bank robberies are a guy walking in, sliding you a note that says, give me all the money in the drawer, and then you do it and they walk away.
Yeah, exactly. And also too, I saw a lot of the comments too who are saying like, he's giving him a note, but I'm like, a bank slip,
it's a bank slip
is not a fucking note. Like, and that's a very important distinction.
The bank slip says that he would like to withdraw $12,000 in cash, and it's like, yeah, no wonder he doesn't want to say that out loud.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, and
he
shouldn't have to explain it regardless.
And even if
he
it was
doesn't want to get robbed walking out of the bank.
Exactly.
And even if you're because I worked at a bank too. There's been plenty of times, even when it's not that amount of money, like if people will ask you to talk quietly about very small sums of money,
right?
Like, it's just a privacy concern.
It's a privacy thing. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, even if it was just like a piece of paper that he wrote on, if you hand over your ID and an account number and an amount you'd like to withdraw and what from,
and the fact that the teller called the police before she had even looked at the ID to verify if he had an account.
Yeah, exactly. That is
like, well, what are you doing?
Such an extreme
at least
escalation.
Do your due diligence.
Right.
Jesus.
Like, even if he came in with a gun, like an open carry gun, right? Obviously not wielding a gun, but like he had a gun on him and he slid the note and then was just dead silent. If he gives you an ID, first thing you should just do is make sure
see
that
if he's got an account.
And the note just says, I would like to withdraw $12,000 in cash. It
Yeah.
doesn't say, give me all the fucking money.
Like, this person is terrible at customer service. They just immediately see a guy in a mask asking them questions and they're like, oh my God, it's a robbery. I gotta call the cops.
I think they were just excited. They were just like, fuck,
it's finally
I'm
me.
catching a robber.
It's finally me.
Yeah, I know. I'm just like, almost like, do you think a robber would allow you to walk to the back?
Yeah, what are you talking, dude? Oh my! Like, all right, I don't want to like come in here and be like, I know all about this,
right?
But
sure.
during my time working at a bank, there was a time where somebody came in with an ID that didn't match at all, and so my first reaction was definitely not to call the cops, and this person was,
oh my God,
being a fraud. So all I said was like, I'm gonna go get this ID verified by my manager. Give me just a moment, and I stepped away, and they fucking peeled out of the driveway. So. Of already just an insane escalation to immediately call the cops before doing realistically anything.
Anything at all.
Yeah, that is fucking ridiculous.
Ryan Coogler has since come out and said that, you know, he's talked to Bank of America and they have come to a satisfactory,
Of course it was Bank of America.
yeah, exactly. Ugh. I know. And so it's like, you know, he's happy with whatever kind of came of the situation. Maybe not happy. He's he's ready to move past it. So I don't want to like dredge it up on behalf of him or anything.
Yeah.
But it is fucked up.
Yeah,
It's
like-
very fucked up. And it's just like, thank God the situation didn't
Get
go
worse. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus, can you imagine? God,
That would be
fucking
horrible.
terrible. Yeah.
So, shout out to Ryan Coogler. Hope you got your $12K in cash. Hope Bank of America just goes ahead and gives you that one for free.
Brilliant director.
Yeah, and great director. So
We'll give him a $25 service gesture.
yeah, probably. Or if anything, they'll just give him an extra
they're
wave of a ATM
They're
fee or
like,
something.
we'll put a password on your account, so you just have to say that when you come in.
Yeah. But that's it for the newsroom, folks. Now it's time for the main. Now it's time for the corned beef, if you will.
The main potatoes.
Corned beef and cabbage.
I love corned beef and cabbage.
I
Can just
actually,
say that.
unironically, do love corned beef and
It's
cabbage.
delicious.
the meat and spuds.
I did. I did try and make it once a couple years ago for St. Patrick's Day.
It's tough
did
to get
not turn
right.
out very well.
Take some practice.
Yeah, Callisto was like, I don't think I like that, and I was like, I just made it like shit though. Don't hold it against the Irish. I made it poorly.
Never really had like authentic Irish food like that.
It's good.
It's good.
Looks good.
So, speaking of the Irish, we're here to talk about
The luck of the Irish.
the luck of the Irish, the 2001, like we said earlier. Oh, I meant to bring up 9/11 again. Sorry.
That's getting clipped.
With the Irish car bomb thing. I'm sorry, the Dublin drop.
Whoa.
Right?
Dublin.
I've heard it explained as like how that sounds to people in Ireland is like if you went into an American bar and ordered an ISIS or a 9/11.
Or a Twin Towers.
Yeah,
Oh
like
my
give me
God.
give me a
twin
give
tower
me a
bomb.
South Tower collapse.
Jesus
Jesus
Christ.
Christ.
Yeah, so
Jesus.
Jesus Edward.
that'll be probably the last mention of 9/11 on the episode, but I did want to bring that up.
Ooh. Yikes.
We got to get our boo every time I bring up 9/11. We got to get a boo sound effect. Like, boo, just so that people know
Right.
I'm not happy about that
Yeah.
by any means. It was horrible.
Ay,
but-
Chihuahua.
Oh my God, The Luck of the Irish, 2001, from director. What's this fucking guy's name? Let's check it out. The director of The Luck of the Irish is Paul Hoen, who also directed such classic hits as Camp Rock 2, Jump In,
Great movie.
and those are the only ones that I recognize. But oh no, he did Dad Napped. I remember that one.
I haven't seen that one.
Dad Napped. That's a deep cut. That's a deep cut for the Disney kids.
It's uncut.
The Luck of the Irish holds a special place in my heart.
Mm-hmm.
I loved this movie while I was a kid, and then rewatching it now to find out that it was one of the many, I guess I should say, Disney movies filmed in my home state of Utah, beautiful Salt Lake City, Utah,
Well, in the movie, it's Cleveland, Ohio.
which makes no sense.
Mountains in the
Forgive
background.
him. We'll forgive him for putting those
Mountains.
majestic Rocky Mountains in the city of Cleveland, Ohio, but okay.
Were you guys aware that like a Utah thing is that we don't enunciate T's?
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
been told that before, and it really fucking embarrassed me.
When I was a kid, actually, my mom kind of like picked up on it because a lot of her not her ancestors, but her extended family were from California, and they would pick up on it and they'd point it out and they'd say,
Yeah. Don't
"Why
enunciate your
are you
T's.
saying mountain?" And so when I was a kid, my mom would
So
always
embarrassing.
she would correct us. I would say mountain, and she would say, "It's mountain, it's mountain."
Mountain Pat Rick.
I love you, mom.
I had a coworker when I was like 15 or 16 at JCPenney. His name was Hunter, and he fucking made fun of me in front of everybody because he's like, Hunter. And I was like, oh, wow, all right.
Yeah, I feel like I still just do it anyways, though.
I try to be better about it, but
Mountain.
I do catch myself always being like, man.
Mountain. See,
Mountain.
when I'm saying it, it's like one of those things where it's like so natural to me that I'm like, yeah, and I'm pretty sure I'm saying that.
Mountain.
I'm like, I'm convinced I'm
Mountain.
saying it. But anyways, The Luck of the Irish
Yeah,
was
sorry.
filmed here in Utah. There's some scenes at Juan Diego Catholic High School. There's some scenes that are definitely at the mouth of Big Cottonwood Canyon. And then there's Lagoon there, baby.
And then the industrial.
Yeah, and then the Zurcher's parking lot behind I-15.
That's exactly what it is. It's gotta be.
Looks exactly like it.
I can't believe they found this spot. They're like, this is a good shooting location.
This would be a good
Let's
place
go
for
with
them
this.
to chase a leprechaun to the end of
Just
the
this shitty gray parking lot. Some
So-
cars in the background, some broken fence.
So, All right, the luck of the Irish. What's the luck of the Irish about? Let's kind of dig in for the folks at home who haven't seen.
That's
this
about
movie.
a wee lad named Kyle.
Is that his name, Kyle?
Yeah, I think so.
Good name.
The Luck of the Irish is a movie that is about heritage, but
That's a good way to put it.
in a very ambiguous but also very pro-America way. Like
Yeah.
it uses
At the very end, especially.
it
Yeah.
uses the idea of heritage to like pry into this conversation the idea of American exceptionalism.
Oh yeah, big time. And not only that, but this movie has, I mean, not to give this movie probably more credit than it necessarily deserves or anything, this movie does have a couple of interesting points to make that I don't remember it making. I mean, obviously I don't remember it from when I was a kid or anything, but watching it as an adult, I was like,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
You really got to
for
grab a
them to-
kid and shout what you're trying to say into his face, otherwise we're not going to get it.
Apparently.
But as an adult, it's very unsubtle.
And before we get into some, I guess, the more ridiculous antics of the movie, one specific moment that I think took us all aback was, okay, so throughout the film, there's this constant reference to, like you said, heritage, and like the main kid is trying to figure out what his heritage is. For some reason, his parents, well, I mean, we know the reason they didn't want to tell him. I guess, do I need to explain what this movie's about first?
Probably a good idea.
Yeah, give us a
Okay.
brief
The
synopsis.
quick synopsis is that Kyle, right?
He's going through some changes.
Kyle
Kyle?
Johnson.
Here, I'll do my 2001 Disney trailer voice. Kyle Johnson was a lucky guy at school, but one day I'm giving up. I'm giving up on a bit. Kyle Johnson is a lucky kid in high school, right? Or junior high apparently.
Okay.
He's a basketball star. He makes an impossible fucking
All the girls are
sweet.
like, "Hey, Kyle."
Also, everyone in this movie that plays basketball is playing a much more physical sport, like a much more content. Like they are diving for this basketball. I'm like, that's not what you do because you fall on the ground. You don't even have the basketball. You
throw the
it's not how
fucking
you
ball
play
in the hole.
defense.
You
can't
throw the ball in the
"Ugh!"
hole.
It's not soccer or football. So, anyways, he doesn't know what his heritage is. His family won't tell him. They're like, what do you mean our heritage? We're from Cleveland. We're from Cleveland.
We're American.
And he has this little gold necklace that he carries around with him. One day
It's his lucky charm.
yeah, he doesn't know that, but it is his lucky charm. And then one day it gets swapped out for a fake, but he unbeknownst to him.
Little sleight of hand.
Yeah, he doesn't know it got switched out. And this is where things start to get a little weird. Little does Kyle know, he's actually half leprechaun.
What?
Turns out Daddy-O was looking for them short girls out in the old homeland of Irish land, right? And so his mother is a leprechaun who, when they have this
What the fuck?
gold lucky coin, right?
Uh-huh.
When they have this lucky gold coin, they can just be disguised as regular humans. But since it got swapped out, she starts reverting back to her true leprechaun self.
Pretty
So
immediately
she's-
and pretty drastically.
yeah, pretty immediately, like just going full blown Irish stereotype. Like she walks,
Yeah.
he walked downstairs and she's making breakfast. She's like, "Oh, come on, Kyle,
She
have a
suddenly, she
rouse."
suddenly has like brave curls.
Yeah.
yeah.
Like huge curls of red hair all
Also,
over her
she's
head.
wearing just these like Irish pilgrim clothes.
Yeah, like loose fitting.
Yeah, rags.
Very village,
basically.
very, like,
Yeah,
Irish
village.
countryside
Yeah, exactly.
clothes. And then Kyle he takes off his horrendous bucket hat one day, and his hair's turning red, and he's getting pointy leprechaun ears, and he's shrinking in size as well.
He also cannot help himself from calling his pops Da.
Yeah.
Da.
He's like, "Duh, what's wrong? Oh, Dad, what's wrong with Mom?" And then, so then from there, the plot is him trying to figure out how to get his lucky... Oh, because now he's having bad luck also.
Yeah.
He's trying to get his coin back. He finds out...
Turns out he's a clumsy, skillless, lazy
loser,
asshole.
yeah. Turns out he's a piece of shit 12-year-old.
And also his granda
Yeah.
is,
His granda.
is a guy named Riley O'Reilly who owns
yeah.
a potato chip
He invented
factory.
potato chips, as a
He's
matter of fact.
inventor of potato chips.
I just
yeah.
can't, it's so funny to me that they're like, yeah, we're gonna make a movie all about like this Irish family, and they're like, what are you gonna name him?
Riley
Mom's name is
O'Reilly.
Kate O'Reilly. What
guess
the fuck? Kathleen O'Reilly. Nice to meet you.
Exactly. Oh, there's also a hilarious part where before he finds out they're Irish, he's like, I gotta really figure out what this heritage thing is. And he's like, how do I find this? And he goes onto Google and just searches the word Johnson.
Unsurprisingly,
Probably would have gotten some similar results from me searching pleasure on Twitter for sure. Just searching Johnson.
It's like, huh? This isn't teaching
He's like,
me anything.
The principal's like, Kyle, what are you looking at? I was looking up Johnson, sure, I swear.
The in-school firewall just instantly blocks his Google search.
Yeah, exactly.
Those computers, by the way, real 2000s
Oh, those
retro.
Mac computers.
Yeah, those
They're-
are crazy looking.
It's like very, in Legally Blonde, when she goes to buy the MacBook from the store, and it's like the classic, like, funky shaped
Right,
MacBook with the pink color.
That's a
It's
deep
like,
cut.
It's like that.
Gosh, yeah. So, anyways, that's the gist of the story, right? We'll get into some more of the details, but that's the heart and soul of the movie.
Yeah.
So throughout this movie, this whole heritage theme and everything, there is this, when he finally finds out that he's Irish and then the whole leprechaun side of things, he's like, why did you hide this from me? And they do make good points in terms of being like, when the Irish came here, it was bad for them, which is true, 100% true.
Yeah.
And then Kyle's like, that was 100 fucking years ago. Can you drop it? Which I was like, that's really weird. And then, so, like, they keep making points like that. But by far, the moment that just took the breath took the wind out of my sails. Holy shit. Kyle's best friend, what's his name?
Russell,
thank you. A young African-American boy, Russell, right? Young black kid.
Mm-hmm.
Which is important. It is important. Towards the end of the movie, this other girl who's their friend is with them. They're down on their luck. It's the low point of the movie. That's right before their rise back up. Yeah, it's raining on them. They're
raining on them in their convertible.
His grandpa and his dad are fighting about stupid shit, and the girl's like, blah, 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 blah. Like, this is a nation of immigrants, like, and you gotta work hard. And she talks about, like, when the Irish came here, they worked hard, and they were doing the jobs that no one wanted to do, and getting paid, like, less money than they deserved. And then Russell just chimes in and says, at least they were getting paid, in just a very abrupt, like, slavery call out, which
also
was
the only time they address that topic the entire film.
which was like, you're not wrong, but holy shit.
They also
like,
just immediately cut away.
they
from
all
it.
just like look at him and they're like, okay. Like, yeah, it was insane.
Yeah,
I was
couldn't
like,
believe it. I was like,
holy shit. Why do you coming from the fences, Russell? What is going on?
That one was for the adults.
Yeah.
They write those jokes into the kids' material that are for the adults. I think that would go right over a kid's head.
Oh, I mean,
they'd be like, "What?
honestly, I think
is he
that's
talking about?"
I think that's kind of what I dislike about it, is that it is supposed to be like a remember slavery. I don't know why we're clipping so bad today. I do hate that moment. You know what I mean? I do hate that it is like, who is this joke for?
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, so there's just like a lot of really weird spots.
Yeah.
That one by far I think was one of the craziest things.
Yeah,
I
that
don't know.
was bananas. I couldn't believe that.
Yeah. What did you what other themes, I guess, did you pick up on? I feel like that was definitely the biggest thing for me. Overall, I think the movie is incredibly offensive.
Yeah, oh my god.
Absolutely. So many offensive stereotypes about Irish people. Just they talk about potatoes a lot.
Yeah.
And
Spuds.
he keeps, like, the main character, Kyle, he keeps slipping into his Irish accent.
Yeah, his Gaelic dialect.
And then he keeps, like, correcting himself. And
being like, oh, whoops.
yeah, and it's just so, like, awkward and clumsy.
And
in
it's
the way
so
they-
like, especially like the really heavy like stereotypes and like caricatures of just Irish culture is like very goofy. Like
Yeah.
they're trying really hard to be like, oh, look how funny this is. Like especially the mom. I'm like, oh my god.
And I do think that the movie wasn't. I don't think they went into this movie being like, yeah, fuck Irish people. Like,
Yeah.
we hope they're mad. I do think that they're trying to come from. It's just kind of, it's aged horribly or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's just like some of the kind of unsaid parts are where I think it's really bad. Like, just the fact that he has horrible luck is also the same thing as talking with a thick Irish accent. Is like, well, you're saying those are the bad things to have happen to you.
Yeah.
Like, you're saying that's bad. And then we talked about it briefly off the podcast. I want you to talk about it again, though. I was saying, like, just the idea of a leprechaun in general seems pretty not good. And you were telling us a little bit about the origins of that.
Leprechauns are, I mean, they're from Gaelic and Irish mythology.
Right.
And they're fairies. They're like these mischievous little spirits that run around the Emerald Isle and just hoard gold, and pretty benign in the actual like Gaelic mythology. Like, they might mess with people, but they're not like evil.
Right. They're just like they play pranks.
Right. But then similar to how anti-Semitism made Jewish people out to be like rats and stuff
Goblins
like that.
and shit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In a similar fashion, leprechauns at some point began to be equated with Irish people. Like the classic example I think of is Notre Dame and the Fighting Irish and the mascot.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like
Yeah.
he's drawn like a leprechaun. He's got a little green suit on and like a green top hat. He's drawn to look like he's short in stature, and he's got red hair and like sideburns and stuff. And it's just as gross and just as like grimy as those anti-Semitic propaganda drawings from Nazi Germany that just describe Jewish people as like rats and goblins, like you were saying. And it has a similar vibe to it.
Right. I think especially, and I don't want to necessarily paint this movie as like being anti-Semitic. I don't think they're doing that, but I just feel like this is one of the way that it's like, you know, those kind of characteristics of the leprechaun character are coming out is where I was really kind of noticing that. Because, like, I'm trying to think, the only other leprechaun movie I can think of is Leprechaun, the fucking horror movie.
Which when you first brought this up to me, I thought that's what this movie was. I only recently found out that that's not
what we were going to watch.
And it's probably because of just the one scene with the terrible prosthetic, scary makeup.
Oh,
And
yeah.
he is horrifying
He looks
looking.
pretty scary.
Yeah, he's pretty gnarly
It's like a little
looking.
Irish werewolf.
Yeah, and there's also some. So yeah, I don't know. That was a weird, like I said, I don't necessarily think. I'm not saying this movie is anti-Semitic or anti-Irish by any means. It definitely had some issues, but it was something that just I felt like it came up.
Yeah.
Like I was like, all right.
Just kind of paints the whole Irish culture as like a joke. I kind of felt like in the whole movie.
I was also like, I don't know that leprechauns are like 4 inches tall.
No, they're like.
I thought they were like a foot, like, you know.
Couple feet.
Little. They're small, but like I didn't think they were like miniature. But I don't know. You said they're like fairies, so maybe they are.
They're
I don't know.
They're like fairies or like the when we in the West think of the term fairy, we think of like Tinkerbell,
Right, like a little fairy.
But
right.
a fairy from Gaelic and Celtic mythology is just like a spirit.
It's like a woodland
of the woods.
creature almost.
Yeah, it's more ethereal and supernatural and
It's like Spiderwick Chronicles.
abstract. Yeah, it's more. It's not like an actual little 4-inch tall little person with wings. You know, it's a spirit. It's an entity.
Sounds like something that'd be in The Witcher.
I was about to say, it sounds like a lesson.
Yeah. It do sound like a lesson.
It do. It do.
But his mom is 4 inches tall,
Yeah, real tiny.
which is that's what I was confused about with the dad. I was
I was
like,
also confused about that.
so
How did they come to meet and like? Did she appear as a normal human at first, and then he?
right, because the youngest always has the. Okay, let's talk about this other major plot point is that he didn't know the gold necklace that he has on
Was so
keeps him
important.
from turning into a leprechaun.
He didn't even know he was fucking Irish, but he didn't know that his entire family's like livelihood of being undercover leprechauns depended on that thing being kept
Yeah.
safe.
He's a dumb little kid. You trust that with a dumb little kid running around
And you
school
didn't tell him, and
playing basketball?
and you make a good point. So before he was born, were they the little leprechauns, or were they regular because she had the necklace and then she had to pass it down to him? I don't know.
I think she was regular.
And something that Calissa pointed out is that part of this whole story unfolding, right, is that his last name is Johnson. So when he tries to find information on his family heritage
Pulls
because
out his
he's
yearbook.
curious,
Yeah.
he pulls out his dad's old yearbook.
Right.
And he's like, but I can't find Robert Johnson. I can't find Bob Johnson in my yearbook.
It's not in here.
And
What the
Bob
hell?
Johnson.
And he's like, well, I can't find Bob Johnson. It's not necessarily that I can't find my dad. So conveniently, all of these files are located in the same place in his house.
His dad put a manila envelope that says "Do not open." It's a whole bunch of it's like a whole bunch of newspaper clippings, and I'm like, what could these possibly say?
And it come to find out, his dad had changed his name, but what he changed it from was he changed it from Smith to Johnson.
From one generic, from the first most popular white character name to the second most popular white character
So-
name.
You guys are telling me your parents didn't have a study where they kept all these sort of sensitive puzzles and
No.
like sensitive information in like an unlocked cabinet.
But to the point, why do that?
Yeah, why?
Why did he lie?
And I think it was literally just to add mysterium to the family heritage. Because really, like, this movie is an allegory for a relatively boring thing that happens to a lot of us when we're kids in America. Of like, okay, I'm learning about all these different cultures in school, and they're all white people. You know,
right.
Like there's German culture, there's Bavarian culture with Oktoberfest and stuff. There's like Italian culture.
Right.
There's French culture and Spanish culture and Irish culture, but they're all white. And so when you're a kid and you're just a white person and you're looking around at all these other white people, you're like, how do I fit into this puzzle? And what does it all mean? And so they're trying to tell that story, which is a very real human story that happens to a lot of us. But I think they tried to inject too much mysterium into it. They tried to make it too exciting because it's kind of boring when you figure out your family heritage. You just ask your parents. You're like, "Hey, Mom, what's our heritage?"
We're Norwegian. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it
it's
goes.
pretty straightforward. But
Yeah.
they had to make up many reasons for the parents to lie to this kid and say, "Oh, we're Americans."
If anything, Johnson sounds more Irish than Smith.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think the other thing that I was kind of frustrated with is, you know, the whole time they're like, no one's from Cleveland if you go back far enough. And then we find out, yep, you're right. Your mom's a leprechaun. But your dad, no, he's actually just from
He's just
Cleveland.
from
He's
Cleveland.
just
Never
from fucking
touch on
Cleveland.
his
He's a
We don't
Cleveland
know where the
native.
fuck he's from.
So many missed opportunities, and there's other moments like that in the movie. Like they go back and when they're doing the wager at the end, and Kyle is wagering with this evil leprechaun to try and get his coin back, and he says, "I'll beat you at sports." And so they,
Sports ball.
they interpret it very liberally, and they end up in Ireland doing traditional like Gaelic games,
Right, yeah.
You know, throwing stones and wagon wheels. And
This part
like,
was kind of cool.
and I wish they would have gone more
Yeah.
into.
I
Like,
wish
what are
there
like
was
the-
way more Ireland stuff.
Like, what are these
100%.
games called? What is a leprechaun?
And even, like,
where does a
the-
leprechaun come from?
Even the design of the atmosphere they did, like, it's still super cheap looking, but it's kind of cool. They just found this very lush green field and just lit some torches around it.
Yeah.
Made some wood, like...
Very Survivor-esque.
That
Yeah.
was one of the few parts of the movie that worked for me.
Yeah,
'Cause
it's
like,
kinda cool.
These are things that are actually culturally Irish, like really culturally Irish.
I think they end up not doing that mostly because of what you were saying about, you know, ultimately the movie's message is like, from the opening scene of this movie is a Native American like tribal dance for a talent show. Then amongst a backdrop of just like international flags.
One of the last times they talk about Native Americans, by the way.
Right. And the crux of this movie is you can have your little individual backstories, but you're an American at the end of the day. And so I feel like that's because I agree. It would have been one. I mean, okay, the movie was bad. I'm not going to give it that much credit anyways. But a major thing that I think would have helped this movie along is Kyle being like, oh, having some sort of like love or at least understanding or appreciation for like his, when he finds out he's Irish, his Irish heritage. And like that doesn't happen. It's always like, what the hell are we doing here? Like, and then they're like, let's go play some real sports. Let's go play basketball. Like, and I think that's why they just never explore that anymore. And then they really drive that point home at the end when he does a little Irish jig in front of a scarily big American flag, and then he sings a rendition of "This Land Is My Land." Horrible.
Heavy
I
sigh.
I
Yeah.
thought the movie was about how the luck was inside me the whole time.
There's that too. There is
Okay.
that too. I like the. I do. Yeah. We'll get to that in a
But
second.
no, you're right. I think to make it a more a more substantial comment. I think also too, just in the small, like just little micro aggressions, I guess you would call them, is like the whole movie is basically about Kyle rejecting any sort of physical representation of being Irish or a leprechaun. Or
Yeah, he
whatever.
doesn't want.
Yeah, like the whole movie, the goal is to get rid of those qualities.
And he succeeds.
Yeah, he does.
He gets rid of all of his, like the
He doesn't
pointy ears
accept
go
it.
away, the red hair
He
goes
doesn't
away.
love it. He gets rid of it.
What he ultimately learns is, oh yeah, all that Irish stuff is cool and all, but I'm
American.
putting it behind me. I'm an American now.
Because that's all in the past.
Ugh.
I think I genuinely, one of the grosser points I think that this movie is doing, but just subtly, is, you know, with these kind of throwaway comments about applying it to the Irish. I mean, like, that logic is still being applied to every other culture, just not as explicitly. You know what I mean? If you're showing Native Americans and then you have this weird throwaway line about slavery, but then you're also saying like, oh, these things that you're saying happened were 100 years ago. Like,
Just
why
forget
are we
about
still
it
talking
already.
about them?
And even just in like there's really big statements like they make like that where it's like that was super unsubtle. But even like the core like relationships in the movie, they make the same sort of thing that I think that's the message supposed to be.
Right.
Like the whole relationship between his mom and her dad. The
Right.
whole thing is like, why don't you guys just get over it? And I feel like that really applies to the larger theme of the movie, just about like cultural history and shit like that.
Right.
Which I'm like, yeah, maybe that's not the message that should be made.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
when he first sees that his mom is now 12 inches tall, I think that's a symbol. And we're, as the viewers, we're supposed to interpret that as like Kyle's realizing what his heritage is now. Now he can see it right in front of him. Like, that's my heritage. And the movie makes a point of wanting us to empathize with how scared Kyle is when he realizes that his mom is a leprechaun. He's like, "Oh shit, that's scary." And then the movie wants us to feel like rewarded when everything goes back to normal.
Exactly, right.
And his mom's accent goes away, her
She gets back
luscious
to her
red curls
American
go away.
straight hair.
Yeah, and then
Exactly.
at that point, the movie then comes right out and says, "Okay, everything's fine and normal now."
Right.
And that's okay.
One of the biggest issues is the conflation of being a leprechaun is the same thing as being Irish. Like, it's not that his family is Irish. They are, but they're leprechauns. But that's not what the movie is just showing Irish people. Every Irish person in this movie is a leprechaun. Every single Irish person is secretly a leprechaun in this movie. And
Oh yeah.
like that's I agree.
Even
That's like
Seamus.
the big thing is like, yeah, he's turning back into a human from a leprechaun, but he's also shifting away from being an Irish person back into being a good American boy.
There's
Like,
The
and
further this movie gets analyzed, the worse it gets.
Dude, there's other examples of this too, and the one that immediately comes to mind is like you mentioned the name Seamus. In the Harry Potter movies, there's this
Yeah.
character named
Oh, you're
Seamus
right.
Finnegan.
Yeah.
What always happens to Seamus? He always blows things up.
yeah, wait, which one is Seamus?
Seamus Finnegan is the kid who's always
He's got like kind of the yes.
He does like the spell over his tea in the morning and it blows up. He's always blowing stuff up.
Right.
Isn't that kind of like a microaggression from J.K.? Because J.K. Rowling is deeply English.
And she's also known for some of her other fucking not so subtle innuendos, the whole Gringotts goblins and everything.
Exactly.
This is a surgically deep cut
So,
right
like-
now.
Yeah.
You know, Seamus Finnegan is an Irish stereotype, and they even address it right in the Harry Potter movies. Like, Seamus Finnegan says right in the movies, like, me dad's a muggle, me mum's a witch.
Yeah.
Bit of a nasty shock for him when he found out, you know? And,
Yeah,
like, he's
yeah.
always blowing stuff up. And
And
we
like
were
you
just
said,
talking
she's-
about the car bombs.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, she is deep. J.K. Rowling, as a person who would have grown up in Britain at the time she would have just had this internalized disgust for Irish people. Especially because, you know, I don't think a lot of people, especially in America, really understand the relationship Ireland has with Britain.
It's a very contentious relationship. Like,
It's what we're doing to Puerto Rico. It's they are a colony. They are the Irish people. I think what's a lot harder here, or I mean maybe easier for us to understand it here, is we have the kind of added, you know, identifier of like the color of our skin to kind of show that. And Irish people are white and British people are white, and so it doesn't really. But
it's much more of a class difference.
Exactly, and Irish people were literally invaded by the British, and they've been trying to fight that back, and you know they are where they are now. But yeah, I agree. You're right. I think J.K. Rowling absolutely would have had that. She would have, which I'm not saying that, you know, the Irish colony is J.K. Rowling's fault, but she would have had that beaten into her as a child for sure. That's just what she would have grown up knowing.
Well, and you talk about Saint Patrick. Saint Patrick is the patron saint of Ireland, and he was a Romano-British invader. And there's dispute about how he came to be in Ireland, but one of the stories is that he was kidnapped by Irish pirates, which is obviously kind of like already derogatory towards Irish people. And then the other story is that he absconded and ran away to get away from serving in the British military. But either way, he's a fucking colonizer. Like, he brought Christianity to the Irish people.
Right.
And they were practicing their own traditional Gaelic faiths at the time. Like, they were polytheists.
Uh-huh.
And he brought Catholicism to Ireland. But then the people of Ireland do recognize St. Patrick
Right. They're
as
very
the patron saint of Ireland.
Right.
So it's a complicated, deeply entwined relationship that goes back literally millennia. Like, it goes back thousands of years.
I was gonna say one other. I mean, we're getting way into a whole deeper topic now, which is totally fine. But I think one other like big key difference that I think a lot of people don't really. Maybe I'm speaking more to my own ignorances that I kind of have had to like come to terms with or whatever. But like, America has only existed for a little over 300 years. Not even 300 years yet, actually, quite yet. Not quite there, almost there. But like. So whenever I feel like we think about, you know, heritage and like these kind of, and even just history in general, it's like history to an American child, history starts with slavery.
Yeah.
Basically. Like, yeah, you know about Rome and like knights and shit like that, but that fucking might as well be fiction.
That's all very out of sight, out of mind. It
Yeah.
happened a long time ago.
A long time ago. But like a country like Ireland who has the Irish people have had this culture just for fucking ever, basically. It makes a lot more sense why they can have these internal contradictions of like, yeah, sure, they are Catholic now because they have just been successfully, you know, won over or whatever, but that makes a lot more sense in a grander scope of history than just like in an American sense of time. But yeah, The Luck of the Irish, the Disney Channel TV movie.
This got way more reflective than I planned on it being. In a good way, though. That was very interesting to hear about. I didn't know anything about St. Patrick.
I think
That's really interesting.
Where the popularity of this movie too comes from is that it was coming right off the tail of the Boondock Saints.
Oh,
which
really?
was a hugely it was kind of a cult film.
Yeah, it was the other one that we were considering watching instead of this.
But I'm pretty sure Boondock Saints predates.
Yeah, I think so. I'm pretty sure it's
Luck of the
99.
Irish. Yeah, 98 or 99.
Yeah.
And so I think the cult popularity of Boondock Saints made Irish culture just another commodity.
Yeah.
In the early 2000s media landscape, and I think this movie is another product of it.
I do agree. I do think that like ultimately maybe to give the movie some credit is, you know, I think this movie, it's a lot easier to analyze this movie 20 years later.
Oh, yeah.
This children's movie as an adult, it is a lot easier to analyze it this way. I don't think at the time they were necessarily going into it with these intentions. I just think it speaks to a lot more of the kind of underlying unconscious, just like inherited, like what you assume is truth kind of thing.
Ignorance.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I agree because I do think that this movie, I think they think this movie is like celebrating Irish people.
Yeah, you really get that vibe from the movie that they're trying to do that.
I think they think they did a good job.
Yeah,
too.
exactly. Like by the end of it, they're like, "This is such a wholesome.
They're
movie.
like, wouldn't that be? What if we just fucking made him do an Irish jig? Wouldn't that be fucking dope?
And he starts jigging
in front of the American flag.
Yeah.
And it's like ominously lit up. And now I don't know if this was just my wandering eye noticing more of it. I'm pretty sure it was just me noticing it, but I was like, the one flag that is also lit up very brightly behind this American flag is the Israeli flag. And I was like, all right, now we're getting into a whole new fucking settler colony thing here. I think it was just It was just a coincidence.
I can't imagine they were like, go ahead and light up that Israeli flag.
But yeah, so I don't know. I do think that the movie. What did you guys, I guess, think of the movie? Like, okay, on the most surface level of it.
It's
as a movie about basketball and turning into a leprechaun.
It was really funny to watch with a couple of friends and a bunch of booze in my belly.
I agree. But it was horrible.
It was a bad movie. Yeah, it's like one of those movies that's like bad. It's not. I mean, even for me, I already have a hard time watching like that. Fun bad movies. Like even The Room, I watched and I was like, "Fuck, yeah,
I want to watch it.
Yeah, it's bad. I get it. It's funny, but Jesus, I want to leave." But like with this one, it's like there's not even that level to it. Like I really can't imagine myself taking in any of this movie if I watched it alone. To be honest,
no, I agree. This is if you're going to watch this, this is like you gotta watch it with your friends.
Watch it with your friends, dude.
Oh.
It was fun to watch with like a couple of film nerds too, because Jake kept pointing out the Dutch angle.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I was like, damn, that's great. That's a hard Dutch angle.
They were
and
good.
the
Kept
edits
doing
too.
it.
Yeah, the fucking edits in this movie are insane.
It was like
dude.
it was like a film school project. Like
Yeah.
it's like it was like they were using it to practice editing. all the quick cuts. There were some clever shots in it. Like they have to make Kyle look lucky. They have to make him look like he's just inherently lucky. So every time he shoots the basketball, it just goes perfectly in, nothing but net.
Swoosh.
Yeah.
And there's some clever ways they pull that kind of stuff off.
Some
like
practical effects.
Yeah, there's some cool like reverse footage when the bad leprechaun, he like takes the coin out of Kyle's hand,
it
and it
sucks
like
up.
it like he like sucks it up from Kyle's hand into his hand, and it's reversed footage clearly,
Yeah.
but they pull it off in a way that's like, oh, that's actually
That's kinda charming.
That's the clever little edit.
Charming is a good way to put it.
Yeah, I think that I agree. Like it's a horrible movie, but it is charming. It does have this very. I mean, amongst all its faults, it definitely still carries some nostalgia for me.
Yeah.
And some early 2000s just like Disney Channel fucking charm.
Even for me, like I said, I didn't watch any Disney channels growing up, but like just how this movie looks is like that 100%. I do kind of want to bring one other thing up, and I don't want to. I mean, we can talk about it, but I don't want it to turn into a whole thing if you guys don't want to get into it. But Callisto made a comment about like it feels a little Twin Peaksy sometimes.
Oh my god, no!
It's
thank you
so
for
weird
bringing that
because
up.
like. It really is. Like, there's some...
It's uncanny.
Yeah, it's very strange. Like,
I'm
just how
while
characters
you talk about
talk.
that, I'm gonna pull up some fucking examples.
Yeah, like, I mean, there's one really big thing for me where I was like, this cannot be, like, serious. This has to be some kind of, like, either rip-off or homage to that. But even just how the characters are talking and how the camera's framed and how, like, dialogue is being, like, spoken between two people is so weird, especially in the beginning. The beginning, it's especially strong to see two characters be like, well, and this Kyle, and then Kyle's like, yeah, and just how they're talking is so fucking uncannily like Twin Peaks. It's so weird. I mean, it's not as cool.
They're trying
but-
so hard to make the dialogue sound natural, and like the actor who plays Kyle, he cannot get his lines out fast enough in this movie. He keeps just
so
like,
fast.
just like spitting his lines out so fast.
The twin I can't find. Turns out it's really hard to just find the Luck of the Irish
scenes.
soundtrack. But I'll just play the Twin Peaks theme.
The music in this movie
Is just
it's I mean, it's not that good, but it's
God. This makes me want to watch Twin Peaks so bad.
I mean, too.
Just like that kind of like grungy jazz fusion.
Yeah, but
vibe.
the jazz especially. Like there's like there were multiple times where the van was driving down the road and all you can hear in the music, and it really is like
it's like this funky little bass line.
yeah, it's like this weird like just
world
soft
percussion
jazz. Like it's so fucking weird.
And even the like feel of the film, oh my God, what a mouthful. The feel of the film as being like a soap opera is also just very Twin Peaksy.
That's
like,
the best way to
just
describe
weird.
it. Like this really like unnatural sort of feeling to the interaction between the characters. Like that's just kind of off-putting.
Days of Our Lives.
Oh yeah. I think if anything, it just goes to show that like something like that could be a negative of a film or a show done intentionally, like it is in Twin Peaks, can work so well. But in this, where it's not, it does
it's
just come off as
weird.
fucking cheap. Like it's just like what the fuck.
It's so off-putting, and like that's a good point. I don't mean to shit on Twin Peaks by saying the Luck of the Irish is a really unnatural to watch, and that's like Twin Peaks. In Twin Peaks, it's like enthralling.
But
like, I like that.
I mean, have you ever seen Twin Peaks?
No, I haven't.
Oh God, I highly recommend. It took me a while to adapt to the music of Twin Peaks. I remember when I first tried watching that show, it was I was like, I cannot. This is fucking weird.
Yeah.
Like,
Isn't it related to the X-Files in some way?
no, the X-Files they did a Twin Peaks episode.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so Twin Peaks is just kind of fundamental TV show. Twin Peaks changed how television was operated, basically.
Gotcha.
But yes, there is an X-Files homage to Twin Peaks. But yeah, no, I'm glad you brought that up. I forgot about that.
Yeah, that was a really fun like little analysis of especially the beginning part of the movie. I feel like it kind of fades as the movie goes on, but holy shit, that first third of the movie, I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Like how many similarities there are.
And I'm glad you brought up the main kid and his acting and everything, because he was not fucking rocking with it.
He phoned it in a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, go for it. Please do it.
Well, at least he doesn't speak for all Irish actors. In
That's
fact,
for sure.
there's several great ones out there. And that's what brings us to this week's top 5, everybody. Today, we are diving into each of our top 5 actors of Irish descent.
Yeah, and I want to clarify some things really fast for this topic. We've decided that we are going to open up the door to actors of Irish descent, not just Irish-born actors. Mm-hmm. And also, these are our top 5 personal favorite actors of Irish descent or whatever. So I'm so sorry to all the Peter O'Toole fans out there, or all the Mara what's her name?
Rooney Mara?
No, it's gonna drive me crazy. I can't remember her name. Sorry to all these classic... Maureen O'Hara, thank you. Unless she's on your list, but sorry to all these fans of like classical actors. I have not seen enough of their movies to possibly include them on the list. I'm just going by actors that I have actually seen their films, personally. But yeah, we're gonna do that for our top 5 this week. You folks ready?
Top 5.
Top
4,
5.
3.
Wait.
2.
Since I won,
Uh-huh.
I get to pick who goes first.
Sure, that's fine. That was a little top 5 intro I've been workshopping.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm going to let you do it again.
It's time for the top 5. 4, 3, 2. Isaac, take it away.
Jake, you can start this week.
I'm honored. So, list is a little bit jumbled. I know near the end we kind of decided, all right, we're going to go with the Irish descent, because initially I had a list. I was like, these are all Irish-born actors. Sure. So the qualifiers here got a little mixed up, but I don't really care. Top 5 for me. God, is she a classic icon. She's got a whole song dedicated to her by one of my favorite R&B artists, Miss SZA. I'm, of course, talking about Drew Barrymore.
Oh, I thought you were saying SZA. I was
no.
like, what?
Drew Barrymore, a classic actress, a wonderful actress, a cultural icon. She's just stylish, baby. And I love her, and that's what slots her at top 5 for me.
What, she's Irish?
Of Irish descent, yes.
Do you know how? How close?
Nah, no.
Didn't even follow the freaking rules.
What?
That
was the rules.
You gotta list their connection.
That was my connection, is that she's Irish descent.
Well, that's not... Okay, that's fair.
She's got brownish red hair, auburn hair.
She does have red. She is a redhead.
Drew Barrymore.
Right, Drew Barrymore.
Sounds good in an Irish accent. That's my qualifier.
All right. Who you want to go next? You want me to go next?
So we're doing round robin?
Yeah.
Now I'm going to give my number 5?
Yep.
All right. My number... all of mine, I kind of took some liberties with all of mine.
Perfect.
So some of mine are definitely a stretch, but I also have a list of honorable mentions. And all of my honorable mentions, with the exception of one, are genuinely true blue Irish. So maybe we'll get to those at the end. But
True green.
Yeah, there you go. So number 5 for me, and I'm gonna bring up 9/11 one more time.
I told you to make
because our number 5 is Steve Buscemi. Interestingly enough, does have Irish descent. Buscemi's paternal ancestors were from the town of Menfi in Sicily, and his mother is of Irish, English, and Dutch ancestry. So just a little bit Irish, kind of like me.
Just a kiss of Irish.
Definitely.
A kiss of the old Blarney Stone in there.
A heart full of Blarney. But
that's a great pick, Patrick.
But yeah, Randall in Monsters, Inc. He's Mr. Pink in Reservoir Dogs. Just an incredible range. He has like a prolific body of work. Mm-hmm. He's unmistakably himself. You can't mistake Steve Buscemi for anyone else. More recently, he's been in this show called Miracle Workers, which I don't know if you guys have seen.
You were telling us about that the other day, I believe. Yeah.
He's great. He plays God in the first season, and he's fucking hilarious playing God. So, Steve Buscemi, my number 5.
I appreciate that your first movie you attributed to Steve Buscemi was Randall, Monsters, Inc.
That was the first one that came to my memory. I think that was the first time I heard Steve Buscemi's voice.
Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, number 5 for me. I will admit, almost every actor on my list is damn near at least half Irish. So I went pretty strict Irish for my list. And number 5 is a weird one. It's not a weird one. I think he's a great actor. But I do want to clarify here that I got this man here as kind of a, similar to Professor Pig in my last list, right?
Similar to that.
This actor is, I think there was maybe better performers who didn't quite make the cut, but from this guy's career, he's a younger gentleman, and what I think he will grow into. That's why he's on my list. Number 5 is none other than General Druck, something like that. The fucking whiny boy from Ex Machina, Mr. Domhnall Gleeson.
Domhnall Gleeson.
Domhnall Gleeson.
Pleasure to meet you.
I believe he's the son of Brendan Gleeson.
Also related to Jack Gleeson, King Joffrey from Game of Thrones.
Interesting.
Who was
The
also
Gleeson
Irish.
family. The Gleeson family.
The Gleeson clan, if you will.
Yeah, there you go. Domhnall Gleeson in Ex Machina is great. What's his character's name? General Nuck? Something like that?
Something like that. I knew who you were talking about.
He's very funny in Star Wars.
Oh, yeah.
And
Angry Man.
one of his best is actually in the Black Mirror episode where he is
Excellent.
he is like a fake version of himself when he dies and his wife orders a new version of him. And it's a horribly sad episode of Black Mirror.
Very distressing.
But
like most episodes of the show.
yeah, Domhnall Gleeson.
It's kind of the point of Black
Yeah.
Mirror.
Exactly. So
Great
Domhnall
pick,
Gleeson
Isaac.
gets my number 5 slot. What about you, Jake? Who you got for number 4?
I had a real tough time placing this person, and I just could not leave her off this list. That's for sure. And in several other mindsets, she probably would have been closer to number 1, maybe number 2. I'm going with Miss Saoirse Ronan. Wonderful actress.
Saoirse.
To me, what really qualifies her as Irish is in her relaxed state, she is Irish.
Right.
Her accent, her relaxed accent, native
Thick
Irish.
accent, yeah.
Thick Irish accent. Wonderful actress. She's great.
Right.
That's all I got to say about it. Saoirse Ronan takes my number 4 spot.
Number 4,
Excellent
Saoirse
pick.
Ronan.
Excellent pick. All right. My number 4 is Joan Cusack. The Cusacks are a prominent Irish-American Catholic family of actors. Joan Cusack. Joan is my favorite Cusack, though. She has an iconic voice. She's lent her voice to some great characters. She's also hilarious as a supporting character in a lot of different things. So I think of like School of Rock, where she's the principal.
Yeah,
Classic.
that's
So
exactly
funny.
what I was thinking
So
of when
funny.
you brought her up.
Yeah.
When the very first time you see her, when she's in like the principal's office and there's that little kid, and the little kid is like in trouble, and she's like, "You understand, right? That you can't do that anymore." And she's like, "Would you like a hug?" And the kid's like, "Oh my god!" And she's so scared.
Yeah.
Joan Cusack just has this like awkward posture. Like she's so good. Her physical comedy, like her comedic timing, is
Yep.
excellent.
I think she's a good example of range too, because I feel like she plays a lot of characters like that who are like these very awkward, very like sort of just scary presences, and she also plays very warm, charming presences too. That's cool.
Definitely.
Joan Cusack, number 4. Okay, number 4 for me. Now, this one, I will admit, this was hard. Here's where my list starts to get hard because I almost feel bad about where everyone falls on this list.
Yeah, I felt the same way.
Number 4 for me is none other than the man himself,
Who is it, Isaac?
Cillian Murphy.
Cillian Murphy.
Cillian Murphy, Scarecrow, fucking main guy from 28 Days Later. Cillian Murphy. Now let me explain. He may fall somewhere higher on some of y'all's lists. Here's what happened for me. Cillian Murphy is a great actor, and yet I think about him, right? But I'm trying to think of his best role. And I was like, is Scarecrow his best role? No. Is it his starring role in Dunkirk? No. He's great in both of those roles, but is that his role? And it wasn't until I watched The Wind That Shakes the Barley, whatever, yesterday, I was like, that's his best role. But 28 Days Later is a close second. He's
Yeah,
great
I
in
agree.
28 Days Later.
Fantastic.
And he's in a couple other films that I haven't quite seen yet. I think he's coming for fucking gold with Oppenheimer. I just got faith in the boy. And he is a true fucking Irishman.
He's a Dubliner.
is.
He's
Yes.
from Dublin.
Yes, he is. So he is, yeah. Cillian Murphy was a lock. I knew he was going to be on my
Oh,
list.
yeah.
It hurts to put him at number 4. I wanted him to be a little higher, but he had to go there just off the pure strength. Like I said, he's an amazing actor, but I don't think he's gotten that spotlight enough yet to be a little higher on my list, personally. But that's my number 4, Cillian Murphy.
That's a good pick, Isaac. And I think things are about to start getting pretty interesting here.
Uh-oh.
Nice to meet you, Cillian Murphy is my number 3.
Nice. There we go.
I have a different reasoning for him being as high as he is on my list. And I know I always meme about it, the fucking Cillian Murphy voice. It's just fun to say.
It's easy. It rolls off the tongue.
But also, he has just this really striking voice that I really like about him. Like, I noticed it especially during 28 Days Later, where just I really like hearing him talk. Like, even if
I would listen to an audiobook of him. For
yeah,
sure.
like even when he's doing like his American accent, he just has a really nice voice. It's hard to describe, but like, yeah, my go-to Irish accent in my head is Cillian Murphy,
right?
And I adore his presence at all times. I think also too, what I love about him being an actor and just watching him is he has a really interesting look too. Like, he's not this very chiseled Henry Cavill looking handsome. He's not like an ugly man or anything. He just has
he's got a very unique face.
striking face.
He's almost androgynous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not quite.
He's played a couple characters
Yeah.
as such too, I believe.
Yeah.
That's a good way to describe it. Yeah. He's almost like Ezra Miller in that way.
That's a really good draw. He has an Ezra Millerness to him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I adore Cillian Murphy. Yeah, so he gets number 3.
Number 3.
All right. Well, my number 3 is also a Murphy.
Ooh.
Much more of a stretch, though. Eddie Murphy.
Whoa. Okay.
So let me explain a little bit. Eddie Murphy's father was a New York City transit cop, essentially, in like the 50s, 60s, 70s. Died when he was a very young boy. I found like mixed, scattered reports that his grandfather was actually truly Irish, but kind of hard to like nail down a definitive source. Eddie Murphy also doesn't like talking about his heritage and his his race and things like that. So it's hard to like nail it down. But I choose to believe that he's at least a little bit
Eddie O. Murphy.
Eddie O. Murphy.
Yeah.
But I love Eddie Murphy, and I always have. Like, and he's another one of those actors that one of my earliest memories of him is in a Disney movie, like Mushu in Mulan.
Oh, right, right, yep.
Also Donkey in Shrek.
Classic.
But then as I grew up, I started to get more into like stand-up comedy, and some of his stand-up comedy is just absolutely filthy.
Yeah, raw.
Like, just yeah. And he was a big fan of Richard Pryor, personal friends with Richard Pryor. He just had such an impact on the genre of stand-up comedy, and a lot like Steve Buscemi, his voice and his character and his mannerisms are just so his. Like, Eddie Murphy is so distinctive, and he's done so much for the black community. So I have to put Eddie Murphy at number 3 on my list.
That's a good one. It may be a stretch, but I'm gonna allow it. Who
But a
am I?
welcome
Who
one,
am
to
I
be
to
sure.
say no? Okay, number 3 for me. Again, hurts to see the man here.
Oh, who is it, Isaac?
Number 3 for me is the man with the mustache plan. Mr. Colin Farrell, boys and girls and NBs. Colin Farrell. Now,
Another Dubliner.
another true Irishman, if there ever fucking was one. Another true Martin Scorsese's 3-hour long The Irishman, if there ever was one.
He's got to be on it somewhere.
Colin Farrell is one of those actors who I think his renaissance has been truly something to behold. It's not that he was ever a bad actor, but Colin Farrell used to just have this. Colin Farrell was just synonymous with like sleazy dirtbag
Yep.
for I would say the first half of the 2000s. And I think that he has kind of made a turn from there. In his most recent role, he's the Penguin. But I love him from his indie hits. I fucking love The Lobster. Now, I know I'm going to get a lot of hate. Not a lot of hate. I know particularly people are not going to be like, I'm not going to vote for a guy who's in The Lobster. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. So that's why I threw on another Colin Farrell one for you, which was In Bruges.
In Bruges.
And he is so
fucking Bruges.
good in
Such
Bruges.
a good movie.
It's hard to call him a good actor in The Lobster because the direction is intentionally wooden and stilted. And he's great, but he doesn't quite get to
I think it takes
flesh that out.
It takes a good actor though to like restrain their magnetism into that woody delivery. Because I haven't seen The Lobster, but I have seen The Killing of a Sacred Deer.
And it's the exact same.
And he's the exact same way in that
Yep.
movie.
And
Also, Barry Keoghan is in The Killing of a Sacred Deer. Also a
he is.
Dubliner.
And
And
also-
an Irishman.
also in The Batman. Sorry, spoilers. So, and Colin Farrell is also just fucking drop dead gorgeous.
God
He's
damn,
a
he's
handsome
beautiful.
man.
Yeah.
He's a handsome man.
He just pulls off every look.
really
It's
does.
I'm genuinely envious because in The Lobster he's kind of a schlubby looking like little guy, kind of a little fat guy, and he's got like just like this little mustache. He kind of looks like me a little bit right now. little chubby mustache and
Thick
glasses. Right? Yeah.
Yeah. There's
And
some.
he looks great. And
Yeah.
then slicked back hair in Miami Vice.
Dude, horrible
Incredible.
bosses. He's like
That's-
balding.
Oh my god.
That's probably his worst look, but
Oh my
even then, I forgot
God.
he was in that. Yeah, so Colin Farrell, number 3. I love the fucking man.
You
I
gotta
love
have
the
him.
man.
You gotta have him on there somewhere.
Colin Farrell. Did I skip you?
No.
No.
That was number
Jake's
3.
up for
I
number
started,
2.
so
Oh, you're number 2. That's
Yeah.
right. Okay, you're up.
Right,
Okay,
number-
sorry.
2. I'm gonna be honest with you both here. If I had my phone, I would have looked up a more compelling reason as to why he's on this list. I don't have that, so I'm just gonna drop it, and I'm just gonna talk about why I
Just gonna
love the
name
guy.
drop.
An iconic actor, a landmark in acting. Undeniably, it's objective truth. It's a little man, big man, named Jack Nicholson.
Ooh, that's not what I thought you were gonna say. Wow.
One of the
One of the
Interesting,
greats
yeah.
of all time, and he will be cemented for all time for his roles in such movies as The Shining, The Departed,
And
The
The Departed,
very
another
Irish
Irish
movie,
classic.
very Irish.
another Irish
Martin
classic.
Sheen is another Irishman.
It's
Yes,
true.
He is. Yes, he is.
Where in The Departed he plays a specific Irish gang mobster leader, and he
Frank
fucking kills
Costello.
it. Frank Costello.
That's a great
such a good
movie. Yeah.
Need I go on, everybody?
Not
It's
really.
Mr. Jack Nicholson here we're talking about.
It's Johnny.
It's that's exactly right, Isaac.
Yeah.
Need no further introduction.
Thank you.
On to you, Patrick.
All right. My number 2 is Colin Farrell. Yeah. A Dubliner. The first role I remember Colin Farrell in is Bullseye in the shitty
Daredevil.
Ben Affleck Daredevil movie.
Look how
But
far he's come.
he sold that role. He sold
He goes
that
for
role.
it. He puts his old
He really puts
Colin Fullessy
exactly.
into that role.
And then shortly after that, I saw Minority Report, which Colin Farrell is also
That's
great
right.
in that
the
movie.
remake. I haven't seen that yet.
In Bruges, The Killing of a Sacred Deer, Horrible Boss. He's just like in so many great movies, and he just has this endearing charm to him, like we've talked about already.
Yeah, you have got to add the Lobster. That has got to be
it's on my list
It's
for
on the
sure.
list. I know. Colin Farrell, what a man. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, you're good. That's basically it. I also do think it's noteworthy that he is probably the most Irish person on my list. Like
Yeah.
in terms of in objective terms of blood purity, I guess. You
Yeah,
could say.
him and Cillian
He's
Murphy are like.
from Dublin, like the heart of Ireland.
Yeah, and he seems like it too.
Most definitely.
That's the other thing. I will say this. I forgot to mention it. Penguin is, at least to my memory, is perhaps Colin Farrell's first role where he doesn't just use his Irish accent.
No, he that remake. Oh my god, what's it called? Fright Night remake.
Oh, you're right. Oh, and he looks good as fuck in that movie too.
So fucking handsome, dude.
Damn,
It pisses
yeah.
me off.
I forgot you're right. I forgot about that one.
Does he have an Irish accent in Miami Vice?
I don't know. I haven't seen it. You know who directed that though?
Who?
Michael Mann.
Really? I gotta watch that.
It's fucking Colin Farrell and Jamie Foxx.
Holy shit! I
really?
gotta watch
Yeah,
that.
and apparently it was like a movie that was panned when it first came out, but apparently it has fucking aged like wine, and apparently it is so good.
Yeah, I need to watch that.
Yeah.
I did not know that was a Michael Mann flick.
It's a remake of the TV show from the 70s, I believe.
Yeah.
But yeah. Sorry.
That's
Anyways,
awesome.
Colin Farrell, great actor.
Great pull.
Okay, number 2. This one,
You look a little nervous.
yeah, I'm gonna admit it. This one, when I was making my list, was a lock at number 1.
Wow.
I was
Okay.
basically like, okay, well, this guy will be number 1, and then I'll work backwards from there. And then I also did my list vary by the numbers. I was putting like how many movies I had seen from them that were at 8 or above, and then the average score of that movie. And I was like, well, it's hard because if I've only seen 2 movies from this person, but they're both 10s, does that outweigh 8 movies that are all 8s? Mm-hmm. So I ended up putting this person at number 2 because, surprisingly, I have only actually seen them in 2 movies. And this is who I thought you were about to say.
Okay.
a big name, perhaps one of the most prolific actors of our time,
I'm getting sweaty. I'm getting nauseous.
Daniel Day-Lewis.
That's a good one.
Daniel Day-Lewis.
That's a good one.
Now, I think there's going to be a lot of people out there flipping. They're steering their wheel right now. They're livid that that's not number one on my list. Daniel Day-Lewis is an incredible actor.
Mm-hmm.
But I've only
One of the
seen the
best.
guy in 2 movies. Which I was like, holy shit, I haven't seen enough of his
Great
movies. I guess.
performances if it's the one
Exactly.
I'm thinking of, though.
It's There Will Be Blood and
Phantom Thread.
Phantom Thread.
Yeah.
And he is incredible in both of
Oh,
those
never mind.
movies.
I'm thinking of somebody else.
He's also Abraham Lincoln in the Lincoln movie, which I haven't
yeah.
seen yet. But
Also
Daniel
a beautiful
Day-Lewis. And he is. He's a good-looking fella.
Mm-hmm.
His father's Irish, and he also has dual citizenship. I remember you were bringing up someone else earlier.
Saoirse Ronan.
Yes, that's right. He has dual citizenship as well.
Cool.
So Daniel Day-Lewis, There Will Be Blood is probably his. On my list. It might be the single best performance.
Damn.
Period. There Will Be Blood. His
That's
performance in
logical.
that movie is, it's incredible. So number 2's got to go to none other than the master Daniel Day-Lewis.
I love Daniel. I love me some Double D Lewis. I'll tell you what.
You're about to do number 1, right?
Yep.
Do you want to do a quick round of honorable mentions before we move on to number 1? I do have one honorable mention that I want to shout out.
You can bring them up. I did not note any honorable mentions. My honorable mention is Daniel Day-Lewis.
Okay, fair. You said you had some.
I've got a few, actually. One of my favorites on my honorable mention list is Kate Flannery, who plays Meredith in The Office.
Ooh, good pick. That's a good pick.
That was a good one.
Quintessentially Irish character, too.
Yeah.
Like, in the show, she's obsessed with St. Patrick's Day.
She loves going to the bar. What's the bar called?
Oh my God.
I feel like it's an Irish name.
It is Sullivan's.
Something like that.
Something like that. Oh, Sullivan's. It's something like that. And Pennsylvania has a lot of Irish roots.
Patty's Pub.
Yeah.
Philly.
Yeah.
It's always sunny.
Exactly. So Kate Flannery, Lucille Ball has Irish ancestry. She did a lot for TV. She orchestrated like the first interracial kiss on TV during Star Trek. So that's cool.
Right.
Jim Carrey is of
good one.
Irish descent. Love Jim Carrey. Like so many beloved memories of watching Jim Carrey's movies with my dad in particular. Barry Keoghan, Jack Gleason, who was so good at acting that he had to quit because like he portrayed Joffrey in Game of Thrones, right? And just the most hateable character.
Yeah,
And he
fucking terrible.
He got so much real life hate from it.
And
that-
he's like,
that-
in real life, he's a very sweet person.
absolutely. But he portrayed that shitty, hateable character so well
Yeah.
that it translated into real life, and it influenced him to stop acting. So like
That's fucking sad.
but also metal too. Like such a good actor. Like that's fucking metal that he got people to really hate him in real life.
Yeah, that's a good performance right there.
And then one more, Richard Harris, who was the original Dumbledore.
Oh,
is
right. Okay.
Actual, truly Irish. He was born in Limerick, Ireland. He's also in The Count of Monte Cristo. Mm-hmm. I love Richard Harris. I think he's a great actor. He's also in a movie with James Earl Jones. I can't remember what it's called, but it's about apartheid in South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
But he was great in that movie as well. So those are my honorable mentions.
Honorable mentions. Okay, I've only got one honorable mention, and it's Miss Saoirse Ronan. I mostly wanted to shout her out. She was literally just cut in my list. She was
damn.
just number 6 on my
I
list.
thought she might
and
have
I
been
was
your
like,
number one there for a second.
No. She's not my number 1. She was just at my number 6, and I was like, how can I possibly not mention a single Irish woman on my list? She's born in the Bronx, so Josue, thanks for your vote. For me, I guess Saoirse Ronan was on your actual list. And
Yeah, what the fuck?
Saoirse Ronan, she's Lady Bird, she's fucking great. And yeah, I wanted to give her the shout. I didn't know for sure if her name would got mentioned. I was glad to hear her on your list, but
Oh, yeah.
that was my honorable mention.
Yeah, she another reason I think I want to throw in a Saoirse Ronan for me at my number 4 is the first performance I ever watched her in. She fucking made me cry. So
Yeah.
go her. I love her.
All right, now it's time for the 4-leaf clover.
It's time for number 1.
Number
Is that
1.
offensive?
I don't know. Well, we've been going back and forth. I think people are gonna watch this and be like, "Man, you guys sure talked about how racist that not racist, but
Yeah.
offensive that movie was," and then have just been doing all that same shit. the
Well,
whole
it's
episode.
time for number 1. And
It's
the
the top
thing
of the
is-
list to you.
It's the top of the list. Listen, everybody. Here's the logical conclusion to this list. And I want you to take into account, listener, how much we've just been gushing about him here. Patrick gushed about him. Isaac gushed about him. and I'm gonna fucking gush about him. It's Mr. Colin Farrell.
Respectable choice for number one.
Now, not only are all the reasons that my fellow hosts here have listed as to why he's such a great pick, Ireland is part of his personal core. And I don't know if you guys watched the most recent Hot Ones, but he was on it.
Oh, was he?
Yes,
Well, I
and
need
it's
to seek that
probably it's probably my favorite episode of the whole show. He is, and I don't like to get like I don't want to get like parasocial with like celebrities and shit like that. I don't know who fucking Colin Farrell is, but like he comes off very authentic and charming and very kind and warm.
Right.
Like the just him talking to Sean, like he's giving him a whole list of places to go, like look at in Ireland, and he just talks about how much he just wants to go back to Ireland all the time, and he feels like when he tells people about like cool places there, it feels like a piece of him is going back. He's a phenomenal actor, and some of my favorite movies of all time. His performances in those movies also will stick with me forever. Most notably, while we were talking about The Lobster, there's just so many fucking terrible things that are happening in that movie. And just his reaction to it is so viscerally wooden. Like we talked about, how he's just like, but he's like, yeah, I've got to go get some toast. But like just something terrible is happening. Like, oh God, I love the man. I adore him. His range is incredible. And I think too, what you brought up about him, like, especially in like his earlier career in like the 2000s, stuff like that. He has the face of just a douchebag.
Yeah.
Like he's just
agree.
very handsome, so he's always playing this sort of villainous, charming persona.
I think he used to be a douchebag. I think that's kind of where that...
Is that the bit?
I think that's where that came from.
Yeah.
I think he just used to be kind of a asshole.
And just his arc, if you will, is just so fucking awesome. Like I love Colin Farrell. One of my all-time favorite actors ever, and my favorite, Arya Schechter.
Number one, Colin Farrell.
Number one, it's about to get hot in here, Patrick.
My number one is The Boy Who Lived. Daniel Radcliffe.
Wow.
Quote Daniel Radcliffe: I think of myself as being Jewish and Irish, despite the fact that I'm English.
Yeah.
His father is Northern Irish. Dan is number one for me, and I call him Dan. Like, when I really like a celebrity or an artist, I call them, like, really warmly and colloquially by their first name and, like, nicknames and stuff.
That's how I am with John. John Cena.
Yeah.
JC.
And Daniel Radcliffe is one of those for me. Dan. Like, I always just think, oh, Daniel, you know? He's number one for me because he's the most relatable to me personally. He's just like this normal looking working class family white dude who just kind of worked really hard to get where he is and overcame a lot of hurdles to get to that point too. And he's also just really funny and like down to earth and charming, and he's like been through a lot. One of my favorite pictures of him, I'll show you guys, is this just iconic picture.
Oh, it's the one of him in the street?
Like, he's walking like a dozen dogs. And he's smoking this, just iconic. Such a great picture of him. And then below that,
the camera too.
Oh yeah, camera. Below that, we have Harry Potter and the Second Amendment, where he's got those two pistols.
The guns akimbo shot.
He's also in Miracle Workers alongside Steve Buscemi, and he just kills it in that role. I love Daniel Radcliffe. Like, I have such a warm spot in my heart for Daniel Radcliffe. So I was really pleased to learn that he was Irish, so I could put him as number one on my list.
That's a rad pick.
There you go.
There we go.
All right, boys, we've made it here to the end of the
It
road.
comes down to this. I hope you've enjoyed your throne. That's all I'm gonna say. I hope that throne's nice and warm. Keep it warm for me, okay? Because I'm about to sit on it.
Here's what I'll say, folks. There's one name I was nervous. I thought for sure. I will admit this list has gone surprisingly more diverse than I expected it to, and there's one name that hasn't been mentioned yet, folks.
Can I try and guess what it's going to be? Or do you want to just deliver?
What does the name start with?
First name starts with a P.
I forgot. No, it is not.
Okay.
It is not.
I'm surprised he wasn't on there either, because I don't know who you're talking about.
You know who? I don't know who you're talking about. Who are you thinking?
Pierce Brosnan.
Oh no. He's a good actor. He's a good
shrugged
actor.
him right off.
No, fuck. He's like number 9.
James Bond himself.
Shrugged
was
him
up
off
there-
like a devil on his shoulder.
He was up there with Liam Neeson, where I was like, yeah, I mean, like, you've earned some good stuff, but you're like 7, 8, 9 on my list, probably. So, yeah, no shade to them. Liam Neeson was in Schindler's List, good for him. Pierce Brosnan was in Mamma Mia, and he's horrible. So.
Oh, but he didn't phone it in Mamma Mia.
Oh,
he
no,
tried.
he's giving it, yeah.
He
puts
tried
his
really
whole
hard.
Bronsassing in it. Oh,
Brother just
yeah.
can't sing. He
No,
just
he's a
can't sing.
horrible singer. No, number 1 for me comes down to... I'll give you a hand signal. I'll give you a hand signal,
This
Jake.
is agonizing.
Tell me if this gives you a little hint. And for the audio listeners, I'm sorry, you're not going to know what I'm doing. Mr. Michael Fassbender. Michael Fassbender
He's a good one.
is my number 1 Irish actor. Now, he wasn't born in Ireland. His mother was Irish, but he
born
was
in Deutschland.
Yeah, and he was raised in Ireland. He grew up in Ireland. And so he's a true Irishman at heart, and he considers himself as such. Michael Fassbender. Here's the thing. When I explain this to you, I think you're going to rethink that you should have had him on your list.
He was on it for a bit.
Because Michael Fassbender, for me, I didn't expect him to take the top spot. Like I said, I was expecting Daniel Day-Lewis to sit there. But when I think about Michael Fassbender's performance in basically everything he's ever done, he is incredible. He is an amazing actor. Probably one of his best roles is one of his most evil roles. It's in 12 Years a Slave. He is a horrible fucking awful man in that, and he plays it well.
Yeah.
And he's in Inglourious Bastards. Oh,
He's so
classic.
good. Yeah, he's great.
Don't mind if I go out speaking the kings, old boy.
What a line.
Prometheus, Alien Covenant as David, the fucking AI. No, those movies get a lot of hate. I'm a fanboy.
Those are... Well, I
They
can't
are-
speak on Prometheus. I haven't seen it in a long time. But Covenant is so good.
Both of them are so good, and he is so good in both of those. He plays that role so goddamn well. He's in this Steve McQueen movie called Hunger that I haven't watched yet. It's another IRA movie. Takes place in the 80s. It's about a hunger strike in prison. Anyways, he looks great in that. He's just in so many great movies. And Magneto.
I was about to bring this up because even like however you feel about those like I don't
Yeah,
know,
the
prequel
fucking
X-Men
David
movies.
Singer
He's
X-Men
really
movies.
the best part of all those movies. Dude,
Remember when he's in the
first-
fucking woods when his family gets taken away from him and
Yeah,
he's
good
like
stuff.
his eyes are just he is incredible.
Also, in First Class, he is fucking so good in that movie.
Yeah.
I always think about him in that movie. Like, there's a part where he's in a bar somewhere. I don't know exactly where. I don't remember the details super crisply, but he's hunting down Nazis basically because he grew up Jewish in Nazi Germany,
Right.
where like they killed his mom and all this crazy shit. And so he's hunting down these Nazis who are like responsible for that, and he finds 2 of them in a bar, and he just starts like talking to him, and he does this cool fucking thing where he takes a dagger and he's talking to the guy, and he stabs his hand, and then the other guy is like running after him, so he throws like the dagger at him without looking, and then like pulls it back to him and stabs the other guy back in the hand. It's so cool. He's just so like he's very cunning looking. Like, yeah, he's got a great presence.
He's Steve Jobs in the Steve Jobs movie.
Oh yeah.
He was in Assassin's Creed, which was a horrible movie, but he was all right.
So you mentioned this earlier. You mentioned how like Colin Farrell might be good at playing a douchebag because he might used to have been one. And I think there's a similar story with Michael Fassbender.
Fassbender, okay.
But there's an allegation from like the late aughts where apparently he did some like Chris Brown shit to this woman. I don't know if
This
nobody
is news
knows
to me, folks. I did not know.
Nobody knows if it's true or not, and she's like filed suit, and nobody really knows a whole lot about it. It's never turned into a criminal thing, but
I
the,
never knew about that
the
either.
allegation is out there for sure,
I'll have to look into that.
which is unfortunate.
That is
because
unfortunate.
I have a lot of those similar feelings about Michael Fassbender because he's German Irish. Like that's most of my heritage. I'm at least a quarter German, potentially more, and potentially up to a quarter Irish. So it just like fits with my identity. You know, he fits that, and I love him in Inglourious Bastards. That's one of my favorite roles of his. When he betrays himself because he
threes.
says the wrong in Germany.
Oh, that's what
that's
you're
exactly right. They
Yeah.
say when they say a 3, you know, for the video listeners, that's 3 in Germany.
Yeah.
But this is 3 in America, and
he
this
does
is
that.
And this is the sign he gives the bartender, and he blows his cover, gives himself away. Such a nice little
a
subtle
subtle-
Quentin Tarantinoism, like very nice. And he pulls it off really well. The way they frame that shot of his hand with those 3 fingers lifted up is just like so like he just
You fucked up.
And the general glancing at his hand too is really good. He's like,
yeah,
that's so good.
yeah. And that guy who plays opposite him as that colonel is also just like chilling. I don't know who that actor is, but
He's been in some other stuff. He's pretty good too.
He's
Say
fantastic.
Avita saying to your Nazi balls.
And he's drinking from a beer boot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Classic.
Classic stuff.
Man, I never knew about any of that. Anyways, remember that when you're casting your vote.
Listen. It's not an endorsement of the actions of these folks. All right.
The views expressed
come
on this
on.
podcast are not necessarily those of the presenters.
Exactly. Oh man.
Keep that throwing warm for me. That's all I'll say.
All right. Well, I think that brings us to
was
the
a
end
good
of the
fucking
rainbow,
episode.
folks.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you guys so much for having me on. Like, it's been a secret fantasy of mine to be on this podcast, like, ever since I started listening to it. So
I'm excited
thank you
to
for
hear
making
that.
my dreams come true.
We're honored to have you.
No, genuinely, Patrick, thank you so much for bringing just an incredible insight and perspective to this episode. And thank you so much for being on it. We really appreciate it. We'd love to have you back on again in the future. Thank you to everyone who's listening at home. Thank you to Jake for being the solo green shirt wearer. I did realize
had to
that
do
we
it.
were also basked in a green glow of this room.
Some kind of green room.
True. And
Speaking of, Patrick Stewart makes my number one.
Wait. Oh, fuck. I was
I'm
like,
just
did we
kidding.
not do your number one? Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
I don't even know if he's Irish.
But yeah, folks, genuinely, I'm going to give one plug for something before I start to wrap up. This is a longer episode. That's all right. I think it was a fun one, though.
It was a really good episode.
It was a really good one. And if you're listening at this point and you are just if you haven't signed up for the Patreon, I just want to plead to at least consider it. There is, we're working really hard on trying to build the show into something new, kind of a thing, right? And we did a really good pre-show with Patrick.
Great
here
pre-show.
That it is locked. It is gonna be our first official locked behind a paywall piece of content that we have, and it's in our first tier of the Patreon. But we've got a couple different tiers. So if you love the show, if you want to support us in any way, we would love it if you could grant us some support on Patreon. What's the Patreon again?
Monolith Podcast.
Monolith Podcast on the Patreon. It'll also be in the link in the description of this episode. Same with the YouTube stream. It'll be in the description of that video. Which I also want to point out, the heftiest part of our audience are audio listeners. But we are as well on YouTube. And as long as this video is still recording, this episode we will be officially
Fingers crossed.
video casting as well for the remainder of Monolith Filmcast. And
Hear ye.
it's only going to get bigger and better, folks, so please consider supporting us on Patreon. But
Also,
go
really
ahead.
quick one.
Yeah,
more thing.
yes.
I know we've asked this before, but please leave a review.
Oh, yeah.
We really are very open to any kind of feedback that anybody might have or something somebody may want to see. So if that's something you feel like you'd want to express, we'd love to hear it, everybody.
Yep.
So,
We
especially
do
on our
this to please
Patreon.
the people.
Yeah, exactly. Especially on our Patreon, that's a lot of newer experimental content that we're not super familiar with producing. So if there's something specific you want to see that we're not normally doing, let us know, because we're always open to more ideas.
100%.
And thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening. I'm Isaac. You can follow me on pretty much anything, but Letterboxd specifically at Isaac Ramen. Jake, where can people find you?
You can find me anywhere at @_moonscented. Now, Patrick, this camera. Tell the people what you got going on in your life.
Well, I have a regular old Instagram. That's just me. That's Patrick Pickett 95. And then I am also an amateur musician, music producer. I have an EP out on Spotify under the name PHANS. PHANS. You can find me on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, all the streaming platforms. I also have an Instagram for that. It's called phans.music on Instagram, PHANS. I'm also on TikTok, and that one's a little different. It's Phans music. So it's Phans music on TikTok.
Well, I will link to all of that as well in the description for this episode. Patrick is being humble. He's a great artist. We've
Wonderful
talked about him
musician.
previously on the podcast before. I made a music video for one of your tracks. Re-listened to that EP the other day, and I was like, That shit is banging. So,
stuff.
you working on
Thank you very much.
anything that we should be on the lookout for? Anything on the
A
horizon?
scoop for us?
I am working on a new single. That's what the kids are doing nowadays. They make singles. So I'm making a single. And maybe I'll pass you the audio file. You can give them a little teaser of it. But,
Okay.
yeah, that's coming soon. I'm shooting for like beginning of May release. So I'm
Sweet.
going to start promoting that soon, and it's in the works.
Cool. Well, thank you once again for being on, Patrick. You can follow the podcast itself on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at Monolith Pod. Follow us on our Letterboxd HQ page, Monolith Pod. Once again, the Patreon is Monolith Podcast. Anything else I'm missing there?
You can get 20% off a pro or patron account on Letterboxd using the code MONO.
Oh, yeah,
LITH.
thank you. I think I haven't mentioned that yet this season.
Yeah.
There's that. Man, we got a lot of shit rolling out, huh?
Yeah, we do.
We are on YouTube now. I think I mentioned this already, but if you're listening to this and you'd prefer to watch it on YouTube, I did mention this. I did go across.
Taking steps, baby.
Yeah, we're growing. Get big boy tings now. Thank you.
We're not wearing diapers no more.
No. We're growing up. Thank you to Cassette Drift for producing the music for the podcast. You can find the podcast on any streaming app that you would like. Thank you once again for being here for our St. Patrick's Day episode. We hope everybody has a blimey safe and fun holiday.
Blimey!
What is that? Is that not Irish?
It's English, I
Very
think.
English.
Yeah, fuck. Sorry. Fuck the English. Sorry about that. Hope everyone has
Classic.
a very I can't think of any other Irish stuff we haven't.
Yeah, we've made
I think we've sucked that well dry.
Yeah, shit. Nobody can drink from that thing.
So, thank you for listening.
This thing is
Oh,
mine.
God, no.